You think you deserve it? Sak's face was full of resistance and contempt, and his eyes were even more hostile. Bai Xiao stopped Sak from spewing nonsense. Humph, Sak snorted and turned his face away. Chao Ying didn't care. She glanced at the angry Sak glaring at her and thought, little Sak is still so cute. Without waiting for Bai Xiao to say anything else, the military knife in her hand was suddenly snatched away, and then the pocket of her shirt was also turned over. Bai Xiao reflexively touched his pocket and found that the lighter had been taken away by her. Before Bai Xiao could ask, he heard her say, borrowing. Then he saw her walking with the knife towards Beidemen under the tree. Qiao Ying squatted down. What are you going to do? Beidemen was from Country M, speaking in English. He looked at the girl in front of him warily and dangerously. Don't move, Qiao Ying also said in English, then pressed Beidemen's leg with one hand and moved the knife tip toward the bullet hole. Everyone was shocked. Sak saw the situation and was about to rush over, but Bai Xiao stopped him. The two companions closer to Beidemen had already taken action, but Qiao Ying was too fast. Before they could rush over to stop her, they saw Qiao Ying's hand rise with the knife falling. The knife tip pierced the wound, stabbed and hooked, and the bullet in Beidemen's leg flew out, stained with blood, and fell to the ground. This technique was more skilled and decisive than these desperados who had spent years wandering through storms of bullets. Beidemen let out a muffled grunt, sorely sweating from the pain. Only then did they realize that Qiao Ying was helping Beidemen, not malicious. Qiao Ying then took out a lighter and lit it up. The flame roasted the back of the knife to sterilize it. Then Qiao Ying pressed the scorching hot knife back on the bullet hole that was oozing blood and heard a sizzling sound. Beidemen hugged his leg and screamed in pain, cursing profusely. Everyone watched with furrowed brows, shocked. They were all amazed that this ordinary-looking little girl was actually more daring than them. Done. Qiao Ying stood up and threw the knife and lighter back to Bai Xiao. Another companion hurriedly tied strips of cloth to simply bandage Beidemen's stopped bleeding wound. The stuff has been returned to you. Can we leave now? The mercenary leader opposite them asked Qiao Ying carefully, holding his painfully unbearable chest. Qiao Ying glanced at them out of the corner of her eye. What's the hurry? The mercenary leader's heart shuddered. What else is there? You can't just kill us randomly. God's army won't allow you to kill indiscriminately. Bai Xiao and the others looked at the mercenary leader who had just insulted God's army's irregularities, and now invoked God's army's name to protect his life. They couldn't help but look at Qiao Ying. Leave a few lightly injured ones to escort the goods for us. The rest can get lost first, Qiao Ying said. Letting them, as mercenaries, escort goods for another group of mercenaries, who were once their subordinates' defeat, would become a laughingstock across the M continent. However, the mercenary leader didn't even dare to fart. He hurriedly picked out a few himself and personally handed them over. Bai Xiao and the others were astonished, and thought that if they suffered such humiliation, they would rather die. Can we leave now? The mercenary leader asked again. Qiao Ying didn't answer, but reached for Bai Xiao's gun at his waist. Bai Xiao reflexively tried to stop her, but eventually did not move. What are you going to do? The group of people opposite were scared and retreated backward one by one, with their hearts in their throats. Qiao Ying loaded the gun with a click, and then raised the gun directly and shot the mercenary leader in the leg. A blood hole appeared instantly. The mercenary leader grabbed his leg and screamed loudly. Seeing this, Bai Xiao and the others looked at Qiao Ying again. She was helping Beidemen get revenge. Boss. More than 20 subordinates saw their boss get shot, but none of them dared to help. Many were so scared that they almost lost control of their legs and wanted to flee in all directions. Qiao Ying, get lost. Let's go. Several subordinates carried the injured boss away in a panic, leaving those few who were chosen to help escort the goods, feeling anxious. Qiao Ying made a gesture, and those few mercenaries hurriedly climbed into the driver's seat of the truck. Get in the car, Qiao Ying said, taking the lead to get in the car. Before nightfall, the goods were successfully escorted to the designated location. Bai Xiao and the others received a considerable commission. On the way back, they started a fire and roasted meat on the spot. Batumen's leg needed to find a doctor to retreat the wound to prevent infection. They were about to go to the hospital. Across the fire, Bai Xiao looked at the girl resting under the tree. The flames blurred her face. It was a completely strange face, two completely different people, but it gave him the same familiar feeling. Whether it was her casual cold laugh or raised eyebrows, her decisive and straightforward style, the way she spoke, and even her aura, they were all too similar to that person. Hearing the movement, Qiao Ying opened her eyes slightly and saw Bai Xiao handing over a stack of money and a rabbit leg skewered on a stick. She raised an eyebrow slightly, took the food, but didn't take the money. Thank you for today. This is 2/3 of the commission for this mission. Take it and leave, Bai Xiao said. Qiao Ying's eyes swept over the others and saw they were all looking at her. Qiao Ying ignored it and took a bite of the rabbit leg. You want to be the leader of the Blackwater mercenary group? Qiao Ying asked while eating. That's our business, Bai Xiao said. Qiao Ying, haven't you been bullied a lot this past year after your boss died? As soon as she mentioned their boss had died, Sack reacted as if he had stepped on a landmine. His face ferocious. He stood up and viciously warned Qiao Ying, "Shut up. Say our boss is dead again and I'll kill you with one stab." Qiao Ying just laughed and said lightly, "Are you sure you can beat me, little Sack?" Sack was stunned. Qiao Ying realized belatedly that she had let it slip. Not only was Sack stunned, the others were too. Sack was the youngest of them, and he looked young. Their boss loved to tease Sack like this. Only their boss would call him this. Sack came to his senses. Even more furious, he yelled, "Shut up! Don't call me that." "Did you know our boss?" Bai Xiao asked. "Yes. What was your relationship with her? Where is she?" "She's dead. She entrusted you all to me." Qiao Ying's light words were a heavy blow to Bai Xiao and the others. "What did you say?" "She's dead," Qiao Ying said again, still in a nonchalant tone. "Impossible. No one in this world could be our boss's opponent." Sack refused to believe it, and threatened that if Qiao Ying kept talking nonsense, he would rip her mouth apart. After Bai Xiao's long silence, he asked in a deep voice, "Who did it?" Qiao Ying's eyelashes lowered slightly, and a trace of coldness flashed in her eyes. She told them, "I'll take revenge for your boss." Bai Xiao categorically said, "We will take revenge for our boss's grievance ourselves." But Qiao Ying directly said, "You can't." Bai Xiao fell silent again. He gritted his teeth hard and slammed his clenched fist on the ground in frustration and resentment. "Where's our boss's body?" Bai Xiao asked with great pain. Qiao Ying, "No intact corpse." Bai Xiao looked up at Qiao Ying in disbelief. "Nonsense. I don't believe it." Sack couldn't accept it. Shaking his head, he took steps back until he turned and rushed into the woods. Bai Xiao and the others collectively fell silent. For a while, only the crackling of the burning fire and the sound of Qiao Ying chewing could be heard. After Qiao Ying finished one rabbit leg, she comforted lightly. "Nothing to be sad about. In your line of work, it's not strange for someone to die any day. You said our boss entrusted us to you. What proof do you have?" Bai Xiao asked. "Believe it or not, I will participate in the fighting tournament 7 days later anyway. When I get first place and obtain God's Armed Alliance's approval, I can still make you uncontrolled guys surrender to me unconditionally, no matter if you are convinced or not. By then, you can either disband on the spot, join other mercenary groups, or surrender to God's Armed Alliance. You will have no other choices," Qiao Ying said. God's Armed Alliance will not allow the existence of small, uncontrolled mercenary groups. Looking at the arrogant and domineering Qiao Ying, Bai Xiao said, "As long as you can defeat me in the fighting tournament, I, Bai Xiao, will recognize you first." In the next few days, Qiao Ying followed Bai Xiao and the others to go on missions. This year, their Blackwater mercenary group had almost been suppressed by the entire M continent, to the point of being bullied by everyone. Even the stray dogs on the roadside would come over and step on them when they saw them. Every time they went on a mission, they would be maliciously obstructed or robbed by various forces. Out of 5 missions, it would be lucky if they could complete one smoothly, and they would inevitably end up badly injured after fighting to the bitter end. As expected, their missions were still full of difficulties these past few days. The difference was that this time they had the freak Qiao Ying with them. When Qiao Ying swung down her last stick, directly smashing the other boss's kneecap, Bai Xiao made up his mind completely. He had no need to participate in the fighting tournament anymore. With his skills, he wouldn't be able to last 2 minutes against Qiao Ying. This girl's skills were definitely not inferior to their boss's. Bai Xiao struggled up from the ground, dragging his injured body to check on the seriously injured Sack nearby. The ones who attacked them this time were the Hurricane Mercenary Group, who they had just lost to this morning. The Hurricane Mercenary Group was notoriously villainous. Later, when they met the boss, he pressed their boss to the ground and rubbed hard. And since then, Blackwater fled like rats when they saw cats upon seeing them. So when the news came out that their boss had died, the Hurricane Mercenary Group, who hated Blackwater to the bones, took the lead in starting a destructive retaliation against them. This year, Hurricane had suppressed them the most ruthlessly. Hurricane was notoriously vengeful. Sure enough, in less than half a day, they gathered their troops and came crushing down again. Fortunately, Qiao Ying was there. Wasn't the boss of the Blackwater Mercenary Group already dead? Who exactly are you? The man clutching his shattered kneecap struggled backwards, looking at the girl in horror. Around him laid a ground full of his subordinates. Wails echoed around his ears. "Don't come looking for death again. Otherwise, I'll make you guys relive the nightmare from over a year ago with Hurricane." Qiao Ying looked down condescendingly at the man on the ground. "They only have some ragged soldiers left with Blackwater, just barely dragging on. With your skills, why bother staying with those useless nobodies? You might as well join our Hurricane Mercenary Group. Our boss appreciates talented people the most. I'm sure he won't mistreat you." The head mercenary shouted at Qiao Ying's departing back. Qiao Ying stopped in her tracks and glanced back at him. "Say another word, and I'll kill you right here." You don't dare. Our Hurricane Mercenary Group isn't just some tiny sect. God's Armed Alliance won't allow it. Do you believe that if I kill you today, your God's Armed Alliance won't even fart? Qiao Ying pointed her stick at the man. "You can try it out." Seeing the nearly suffocating killing intent on the girl's face, the man swallowed and suddenly recalled the one who had massacred the tournament at the fighting tournament over a year ago, winning 33 consecutive matches and stepping on their boss, the nameless boss of the Blackwater Mercenary Group. The previous boss of the Blackwater Mercenary Group was called Nameless. When he came back to his senses, his back was already drenched in cold sweat. Get lost. As the people from the Hurricane Mercenary Group left, the forest regained its tranquility. Qiao Ying looked at the group of injured subordinates and casually ridiculed. "Your boss is quite ungrateful, huh? Making a pile of enemies for you guys, then patting his butt and dying himself, leaving you guys to bear these crazy storms." Bai Xiao was the first to show his stance towards Qiao Ying. The others didn't say anything, but after these days, they obviously didn't have much objection to Qiao Ying wanting to be their boss. This included Badman, who had originally planned on leaving. Of course, this didn't include Sack. "Speak disrespectfully of our boss again, and I'll kill you," Sack said angrily, glaring at Qiao Ying. "He's injured. Don't provoke him." Bai Xiao said to Qiao Ying. Everyone in Blackwater Mercenary Group knew Sack was their boss's hardcore fan. Anyone who dared to say one bad thing about their boss, he would definitely be the first to rush up and fight them. The only reason he had been enduring Qiao Ying was probably because of her half-true and half-false. "Your boss entrusted you guys to me." Bai Xiao patted Sack on the shoulder. "Let's take a break here, everyone." Then he walked to Qiao Ying under the tree and handed her a can of beer. "Do you drink?" Qiao Ying took it and opened it. Bai Xiao sat down beside her and said, "Drinking was our boss's only hobby, but she was picky. She only drank expensive stuff." Bai Xiao looked up at the bright moon in the sky, talking to himself. Our Blackwater Mercenary Group was just the most ordinary mercenary group among all the groups in the beginning. We were neither remarkable in strength nor numbers. Bai Xiao took a swig of beer. In just 3 short months, the name of our Blackwater mercenary group resounded throughout the entire M-continent. I dare say, aside from God's armed alliance, no one dared provoke us, yet our boss actually dared provoke God's armed alliance. Speaking of past glories, Bai Xiao's eyes were full of nostalgia and yearning, unable to conceal his worship and admiration for their boss at all. Do you know what place our Blackwater ranked among all the mercenary groups on the entire M-continent at that time? 5th place. Do you know how huge the mercenary groups ranking before us were? How many people they had? At least 5,000. Do you know how many we had back then? Less than 500. The former Blackwater mercenary group, under the leadership of their nameless boss, had created many legends on the M-continent. Just their boss alone, consecutively challenging 33 mercenary group bosses at the fighting tournament, was enough to intimidate the entire M-continent. Relying only on herself, Nameless had thrown the entire M-continent into chaos. Yet now they had fallen to becoming street rats, declining to this state. I believe what you said, Bai Xiao suddenly said. Qiao Ying, who had been quietly listening, raised her brows slightly. Because you and our boss are very alike. Bai Xiao crumpled the empty beer can in his hand. He suddenly turned to look at Qiao Ying, his gaze fixed intently on her as he asked, "Just who exactly are you? Why are even your skills the same?" Qiao Ying looked back, meeting Bai Xiao's eagerly probing gaze, and joked, "What? You suspect I'm your boss?" They really were too alike. Bai Xiao had wondered before. One could gain weight, alter their appearance, and change their voice. But what about height? Their boss was 170 centimeters tall, while this girl was slightly shorter than their boss. Fine, I admit it. I'm your boss. I got myself blown up and died in the sea. Then my soul was reborn into this girl called Qiao Ying. Bai Xiao. Seeing the serious yet amused look in Qiao Ying's eyes, Bai Xiao was a bit helpless. Don't say this in front of Sack. If Sack heard, he would definitely fight her to the death. In just a few days, the long-dormant Blackwater mercenary group once again made a stir. This news spread swiftly through the M-continent. Some said the boss of Blackwater mercenary group had returned. Those who had seen Qiao Ying said it definitely wasn't the same person. There were also those who said Blackwater was a useless group of bums relying on a little girl. Qin Yan had already heard bits of the rumors before arriving at M-continent. Old buddies who had left Blackwater mercenary group, unable to endure the suppression, silently found their way back after catching wind of it. The majestic headquarters of God's armed alliance was lit up brightly. One after another, armored vehicles bearing God's armed alliance logos drove into the heavily guarded alliance headquarters. In the very center was a black Maybach. Qin Yan, who had arrived at M-continent earlier, had long stood outside the gates to welcome the guest. The car door opened, and a man in a tailored dark striped suit stepped out. The man had an awe-inspiring aura, a cold and lustful face, and carried a naturally dignified and powerful atmosphere. Qin Yan came up, third master. Once inside, Qin Yan reported to Qin Hanyue about the recent developments in M-continent. When he had reported most of it, he remembered one other noteworthy thing to bring up. I've heard some people say the boss of the Blackwater mercenary group has come back from the dead. Qin Hanyue, you mean Nameless? The annual gladiator competition, the most anticipated major event on M-continent, was hosted and regulated by the most powerful organization, God's Armed Alliance. 2 days before the start of the gladiator competition, more than half of the people had arrived in advance. Accommodations within radius had been fully booked half a month ago. You would think such a bloody and violent mass fighting event would be held secretly. On the contrary, the gladiator competition had become part of the local culture, held in the northwest region near the prosperous area of M-continent. To the west of the gladiator arena was the flourishing downtown. On the other side was the endless desert. The gladiator competition lasted 10 days. Those without a place to stay brought their own tents and skillfully set up camps in the desert. Qiao Ying and her group were no exception. Little Sack, come take a walk with me around here. There's nothing nice to see in this crappy place, just sand, and I told you not to call me that. Sack crawled out of his tent, rushed to Qiao Ying in exasperation. There are too many people here. We'd better not draw too much attention. The gladiator competition will begin in a few hours. Bai Xiao came over and said. As Bai Xiao had suggested, they looked around. By now, tens of thousands of tents, big and small, had been set up in this area, making it look like some huge tribe if you didn't know better. As far as you could see, there were all kinds of people with different skin colors. The one thing they had in common was that none of them were up to any good. Their murderous eyes wandered over them. Some were even more daring, standing near their tents, stropping their daggers while staring at them provocatively and mockingly. Those eyes looked at them as if they were prey ready for the taking. Clearly, after the events of the past few days, the long-fallen Blackwater mercenary group had regained the attention of various forces. This was not a good thing for Bai Xiao and the others. The former Blackwater mercenary group had reached the pinnacle with the fewest people and absolute disadvantages. Their leaders' overly ostentatious actions had already made many enemies. Now their rise would inevitably make them the target of relentless suppression, and Bai Xiao and the others were clearly powerless to resist. Qiao Ying disdained. Those asking for death can come get some. Watch that loose tongue of yours. Sack sneered and got back into his tent. Soon he came out with a blanket and threw it to Qiao Ying. Sack said resentfully, "Desert weather fluctuates greatly day and night. Don't freeze to death, tender little girl." Qiao Ying said, "Wasn't your former leader also a little girl?" Sack immediately changed his expression. "Don't compare yourself to our leader. You are not worthy." Qiao Ying thought to herself, it seemed she would have to fight 33 consecutive battles again in this gladiator competition to truly shake Nameless' place in their hearts. Only then could she gain their absolute loyalty like Nameless did. Only by becoming famous in one battle at the gladiator competition could she deter those eyeing Blackwater mercenary group, like tigers eyeing their prey. Looking at the blanket in her hand, Qiao Ying couldn't help but complain to herself. Her former subordinates no longer acknowledged her. She had to defeat her former self to win them over. What kind of crap was this? By 6 o'clock, the sky had darkened. More and more people gathered towards the gladiator arena. Almost everyone from the northwest had come. Some wore combat uniforms, with the same insignia, moving in groups. Some were lone rangers. There were also many bounty hunters. There were even gangs from all over the world who came to join in the fun or with other agendas. As soon as Qiao Ying and her group appeared, they immediately attracted a lot of attention. Most recognized Bai Xiao and glanced over him and the others before their eyes quickly shifted to Qiao Ying, who was out of place here. A woman showing up here was a rarity in itself, let alone an innocent-looking 18 or 19-year-old girl from China. Whether compared to the sinister dark environment here or the burly murderous thugs, Qiao Ying stood out sharply. It was hard not to notice her. Although the former leader of Blackwater, Nameless, also had an innocent face like this girl, and was even more stunningly beautiful. A real femme fatale. But that femme fatale could kill. Those who had seen Nameless at previous gladiator competitions or heard of her deeds knew better than to underestimate her because she was female. They rarely saw Nameless as a woman. It was as if wherever Bai Xiao and the others went, those eyes followed. That's definitely not Nameless. Blackwater mercenary group can only rely on women now, it seems. What's the relationship between this girl and Nameless? Is she the one who made Hurricane mercenaries flee in defeat? Don't act rashly for now. She doesn't look simple. What if she's another Nameless? We can't afford that. Blackwater didn't participate last year. They actually dare show up this year. Are they planning to let that girl enter? Hurricane mercenaries suffered quite a loss at their hands the other day. I heard they plan to make a move on them tonight. Well, let's just sit back and enjoy the show then. The gladiator arena was modeled after the ancient Roman amphitheaters built around 72 to 80 AD. From the aerial view, it was oval and circular when viewed from the ground. It covered about 15,000 square meters and could hold close to 60,000 people, making it a major landmark on M continent. Since Bai Xiao and the others arrived late, they didn't want to draw too much attention and chose an inconspicuous spot. Overlooking the arena below, two men were already rolling up their sleeves preparing to fight. After missing last year's gladiator competition, Sak was very excited this year. Want to place a bet? I want to bet on the tall one to win. Thanks to Qiao Ying these past few days, they finally had some money after a whole year of only losing money on bets, so much that they couldn't even afford meals. Sak's diet had improved these days. Keep it. Bet everything on me winning on the last day. Borrow and mortgage whatever you can then. Just bet however much we have. Qiao Ying leaned against the railing, looking down. Sak opened his mouth, wanting to retort, but then closed it, aware of Qiao Ying's capabilities. Still, he said resentfully, the contenders on the last day won't be easy to deal with. Bai Xiao also looked at Qiao Ying. He didn't know the extent of Qiao Ying's full abilities. The ones who tried to rob them these past few days were just mediocre mercenaries, but with greater numbers. It showed that Qiao Ying was patient and suitable for prolonged battles, but didn't necessarily suit the one-on-one quick decisive battles of the gladiator arena. With what Qiao Ying had shown so far, fighting 3 or 4 rounds would be no problem. But his intuition told him that Qiao Ying would not stop at just 3 or 4 rounds. Qiao Ying casually said, then the payout will be even higher. The first battle was about to start. Qiao Ying boredly waited for it to start when she suddenly looked up and saw a familiar face standing right across from them, up on the next level. The man was in a fine suit and had a cold, stern expression. His hands were tucked into his pant pockets as he stood tall and straight. Compared to the unkempt thugs around him living among bullets and bloodshed, he was a picture of stark contrast. The man was surrounded by a group of men dressed identically in black suits who acted as his bodyguards. They crowded around him in layers, leaving only a clear and spacious area immediately around the man. It was so conspicuous and eye-catching. Not only did it catch Qiao Ying's attention, but it also drew the attention of others. Qin Hanyue. What is he doing here? Qiao Ying couldn't help but narrow her eyes. The gladiator competition was about to begin. The man lowered his eyes indifferently, looking down at the fighting below. Young master, the past few days have just been small skirmishes, nothing worth watching. You've been busy handling things in M Continent these past few days and haven't rested much. Why not go back to headquarters and rest first? Qin Yan said with concern. Qin Hanyue didn't respond. He suddenly sensed something and lifted his eyelids slightly, raising his eyes to look at the bottom floor across from him. Qin Yan noticed where Qin Hanyue was looking and followed his gaze, and then he saw Bai Xiao and the others. It's those guys from the Blackwater mercenary group. Qin Yan noticed that ever since arriving in M Continent, his way of speaking had been influenced. He thought to himself that as a genteel and cultivated elite from a big city, he would normally refer to them as those fellows. But here, he casually called them those guys. I heard the boss of Blackwater came back. How come I don't see her? Qin Yan looked over Bai Xiao and the others one by one, but didn't see any women among them. Bai Xiao and the others were also looking in their direction. After a brief moment of eye contact, Qin Hanyue expressionlessly retracted his gaze. Bai Xiao asked Qiao Ying, who was hiding behind him, do you know them? Qiao Ying peeked out from behind Bai Xiao. Seeing that Qin Hanyue was no longer looking over, she replied, not very well. If you don't know them well, why hide? Judging from the looks of them, they don't seem like ordinary people, especially the one standing in front. Could he be your guardian? Sak, who was always teased for looking young, finally had a chance to tease someone else about their age. Sak didn't actually care about what kind of relationship Qiao Ying had with these people. Instead, he noticed something else. Sak rolled his neck and said in disgust, they look exactly like those guys from God's Armed Alliance. Even their clothes look the same. As he spoke, Sak glanced at the security forces standing in orderly rows at each level, who were people from God's Armed Alliance. Sak hated these people who dressed and acted so properly. Qin Hanyu watched 2 rounds before turning to leave. Qiao Ying's gaze followed Qin Hanyue for a moment, then she said to Bai Xiao and the others, I'm going to go take care of some things. I don't know when I'll be back, so call me if anything comes up. She really sees herself as our boss now, Sak said with a small pout. But then he added, it won't be safe here at night. Are you sure you don't want to come back with us? No need. You guys can sleep in the tent. I'll go find a bed somewhere to sleep, Qiao Ying replied before walking away on her own. Find a bed to sleep in? There's no place with beds left around here, Sack scoffed. Qin Hanyue had just walked out of the gladiator arena when an extremely conspicuous figure suddenly entered his field of vision. Miss Qiao, Qin Hanyue called out uncertainly. Qiao Ying turned around, looking surprised. Mr. Qin. Qin Yan's eyes widened as he stared at Qiao Ying's unexpected presence. His reaction was as if he had seen a ghost. How did she end up in a place like this? He blinked hard to make sure it was really Qiao Ying. The last time they met in the capital, Qiao Ying was quite chubby. But now, just a month later, she had already slimmed down to a slightly plump figure. After looking her over several times, Qin Yan commented, "She looks so much prettier than when I saw her last time." Qin Hanyue walked up to her. "Miss Qiao, it really is you. What are you doing here?" Sightseeing, Qiao Ying blurted out without thinking twice about the lie. She didn't expect Qin Hanyue to believe her anyway, so she didn't bother finding a more convincing excuse. Sure enough, even Qin Yan couldn't hold back, his skepticism written all over his face. Sightseeing in the northwest region of M continent and showing up at the gladiator arena? Why not just go on vacation in war-torn Syria? Hearing this, Qin Hanyue couldn't help but smile with amusement at the corners of his mouth. His inadvertently revealed hint of an expression and smile were indescribably sexy and alluring. Qiao Ying had seen handsome men before, but she had to admit that in her 2 lifetimes so far, Qin Hanyue's looks were the most pleasing to her eyes. "What about Mr. Qin?" Qiao Ying asked. "Half sightseeing, half business," he replied. "What a coincidence," Qiao Ying said. Qin Yan thought to himself, "These two are equally skilled at acting." "Has Miss Qiao gone inside to watch?" Qin Hanyue asked. "I wanted to go in, but didn't quite dare to." "Mr. Qin just came out from inside. Was it interesting in there? It sounded really lively from out here." "Not quite suitable for young ladies to watch," Qin Hanyue said. "What a pity," Qiao Ying said regretfully. "Where is Miss Qiao headed next?" "I just arrived today and haven't found a place to stay yet. I was planning to go farther away to see if I could find a hotel." "Qin Hanyue, Miss Qiao came too late. This whole area probably doesn't have any vacancies left. The hotel I'm staying at might still have open rooms. If Miss Qiao needs, I can help make arrangements for you." Qin Yan looked at Qin Hanyue as if to say with his eyes, "Since when have you been staying at a hotel? How come I don't know about this?" "Qiao Ying, wouldn't that be too much trouble for Mr. Qin?" Qin Hanyue, "No trouble at all." "Qiao Ying, then thank you." She really wasn't being polite. Qin Hanyue gentlemanly gestured toward the luxury cars parked not far away. "Shall we go then?" After Qiao Ying had walked a few steps away, Qin Hanyue turned his head and instructed Qin Yan, "Arrange a family hotel." "Are you planning to accompany Miss Qiao and stay at a hotel instead of going back to headquarters?" Qin Yan boldly asked. Qin Hanyue didn't respond but simply followed after Qiao Ying. The car drove away from the gladiator arena. Inside the car, Qin Hanyue started probing. What made Miss Qiao think of coming sightseeing in M continent? It's not really suitable for tourism here. As soon as she got in the car and secured a place to stay, Qiao Ying's enthusiasm disappeared. Her tone instantly cooled several degrees as she reverted to her usual headstrong demeanor. She shot back, "If it's not suitable for tourism, then what about Mr. Qin? The family has some business interests here, so I come frequently." "So Mr. Qin is also here on business this time?" Obviously trying to draw information from her, yet she adeptly turned it around to interrogate him blatantly instead. Qin Hanyue, about half business, half tourism. Qiao Ying, I see. What about Miss Qiao? Qin Hanyue had no intention of letting her get away with being vague. He realized that whenever he was dealing with Qiao Ying, he turned into an undignified, over-inquisitive hypocrite. "I've always been very curious about the gladiator fights in ancient Rome. I happened to see online that gladiator competitions were being held here, so I came to see for myself. I'm curious what kind of websites Miss Qiao goes on that she was able to find information about the gladiator competitions here." I come here frequently and know a bit about M Continent and these competitions. They are much crueler than gladiator fights. The participants are all people. Normal websites wouldn't dare post related information. Oh, is that so? Qiao Ying didn't take his bait. Qin Hanyue saw her reaction and thought she would say next, "If I had known it was so dangerous, I wouldn't have come here." But instead she said, "Then I definitely have to go in and watch tomorrow." Qin Hanyue smiled silently to himself. Miss Qiao really is quite bold. He still hadn't asked, did Miss Qiao come alone? Qiao Ying. Yes, alone. Fortunately, I met you, Mr. Qin. Otherwise, I probably would have encountered danger. It really is unsafe for a girl to come here alone. Does Miss Qiao plan on staying a few days? If you don't mind, we could go together. Qiao Ying readily agreed. That sounds good. The scenery outside the car window sped by rapidly, but the brightly lit God's Armed Alliance headquarters still remained in Qiao Ying's field of vision the entire time. The headquarters of God's Armed Alliance really were massive. No matter where one was in M Continent, even from a great distance, as long as they were high enough, they could see it. That place looks so beautiful. Is it a scenic area? It would be great if we could go in and take a look. Hearing Qiao Ying's words, the driver Qin Yan turned his head to follow her line of sight. When he saw the expanse of golden lights in the distance, he couldn't hold back a cough, calling it a scenic area. She really dared say that. She also really dared to casually pick places to visit. Qin Hanyue's gaze looked past Qiao Ying's round little head, then settled back on her as he said with a hint of a smile, "Yes, it's a scenic spot. If Miss Qiao wants to visit, I can accompany you there." In the back seat, Qin Yan silently criticized them. Between the two of them, they had at least 800 tricks up their sleeves. Upon hearing Qin Hanyue's words, Qiao Ying did not react at all and seemed unwilling to respond. Her gaze was still fixed on the distant headquarters of God's armed forces. Suddenly she noticed something, so she turned her head back. Just then, she saw that at the very end of their convoy, not too near yet, not too far away, a truck, the most common local vehicle, was following them. Qiao Ying withdrew her gaze calmly, then slowly turned her head back towards Qin Hanyue. Sitting casually and leisurely, she finally responded unhurriedly to Qin Hanyue's words, "Mr. Qin has been inside there?" These words sounded familiar to Qin Hanyue. Weren't they exactly the same as what he had asked her earlier about whether she had been inside the fighting arena? Qin Hanyue said, "I've been there. The scenery is quite good." The two gave completely opposite replies, but in the same style. They exchanged smiles, each harboring ulterior motives. Qiao Ying barely held back the urge to scoff. They had a tacit understanding, both continuing to follow their own scripts. More than an hour later, the convoy stopped outside the only five-star hotel in town. The valet hurried forward to park their cars. "Oh, how forgetful I am. I forgot to help Miss Qiao get her luggage," Qin Hanyue suddenly remembered only after getting out of the car. Qiao Ying responded, "No luggage, I'm backpacking." What a backpacker, coming to backpack in the northwest region of continent M. Qin Hanyue thought it sounded more and more preposterous. Qiao Ying continued, "So I'll have to trouble Mr. Qin to help arrange some clean clothes for me to change into." Following Qiao Ying's lead, Qin Hanyue's gaze discreetly glanced over her body twice. "I'll have the hotel front desk send them to Miss Qiao's room later." The group then entered the hotel and took the elevator up to the top floor. Qin Hanyue escorted them to the door. "I'm right next door to Miss Qiao. If Miss Qiao needs anything, please come find me anytime." "Thank you so much, Mr. Qin." "You're welcome." After Qiao Ying entered, Qin Yan immediately reported to Qin Hanyue. "Young master, a car had been following us the whole way. They must be up to no good. These people really are bold." "They're not coming after us," Qin Hanyue said. "Then who are they after?" Qin Yan asked, puzzled. Then he saw Qin Hanyue raise his eyes to glance meaningfully at Qiao Ying's tightly shut door. It went without saying. Qin Yan was shocked. Qin Hanyue, look into it and send more men over." "Qin Yan, Yes, young master. Meanwhile, Qiao Ying looked around the magnificent presidential suite while pacing to the huge floor-to-ceiling windows. Upon reaching the windows, with a downward glance, she happened to see over a dozen tall, sturdy men entering the hotel lobby. They had followed her all the way from the fighting arena, and now brazenly followed her into the hotel. It seemed they were determined to take her life tonight. In the next room, Qin Hanyue loosened his tie and took off his suit jacket, preparing to take a bath. Just then, there was a knock at his door. The disturbed Qin Hanyue frowned unhappily. However, when he opened the door and saw who it was, his expression quickly reverted to normal and even warmed up. "Miss Qiao, what's the matter?" The man had shed his suit and tie and was only wearing a high-quality white undershirt on top. 2 buttons were left tantalizingly undone, fully revealing his sexy Adam's apple, and a corner of his clavicle was vaguely visible at the collar. Gone was some of the forbidding coldness, replaced by a lazy, casual allure. This man really was, adhering to the principle of looking one's fill since it was free. Qiao Ying shamelessly feasted her eyes on the man's body. She spoke very candidly. "Mr. Qin said earlier that if I needed anything I could come to you, and now I do have a need." On her face was an obligatory smile and a touch of appropriate shyness. Something's not right. Qin Hanyue thought to himself. "Please go ahead, Miss Qiao. The room is too big. I'm a little scared to sleep alone, so could I." Scared. This excuse was clearly too contrived. Qin Hanyue couldn't help raising his brows slightly, his tone mocking. "What? Could I stay in Mr. Qin's room for the night? The room is so big. I won't disturb Mr. Qin." Qin Hanyue's dark eyes widened slightly, his expression subtle. "Are you sure, Miss Qiao?" "Qiao Ying, I really am scared." Qin Hanyue put away his superfluous expressions, smiling ambiguously at the girl in the doorway. "As a grown man, I naturally don't mind, but Miss Qiao as a young lady." "I don't mind. I can sleep on the couch. Miss Qiao trusts me so much. Aren't you afraid that I might? A man of your caliber wouldn't be interested in me." With the conversation going in this direction, Qin Hanyue could only laugh and gentlemanly step aside to let her in. He closed the door behind them. "Miss Qiao can go take a bath now if you want." Qin Hanyue said to the girl whose eyes had been staring at the liquor cabinet ever since she entered. "Mr. Qin can go first. My clothes haven't been delivered yet. Then I'll go shower first. Please make yourself at home, Miss Qiao." The bathroom was in the bedroom. After Qin Hanyue went in, only Qiao Ying was left in the living room. Just then, Qiao Ying walked over to the liquor cabinet. Presidential suites were just different. These liquors were all expensive brands. Qiao Ying was the type who craved alcohol at the sight of good wine. Aside from cars and weapons in her collection, there was also wine. Standing in front of the cabinet, Qiao Ying thought that Master Qin was rich and generous. He probably wouldn't mind if she drank a couple bottles of his wine. If anything, she could always pay him back later. After a while, Qiao Ying's sharp ears picked up knocking sounds next door. It was the room beside them. She opened the door and indeed saw the hotel front desk staff holding large and small bags, knocking on the door of the adjacent room. "Qiao Ying, delivering clothes? Are you Miss Qiao?" The front desk staff asked uncertainly, looking up at the room number. "That's me. I'll take them." Qiao Ying reached out to grab the bags. "And there's also this." The front desk staff was still holding 2 more bags and glanced up at the room number again. "Mr. Qin's. I'll take those too." Qiao Ying took Qin Hanyue's bags along with hers. Qin Hanyue came out after showering. Qiao Ying stood at the huge floor-to-ceiling windows in the living room, overlooking the view below. Hearing movement behind her, she didn't respond. Until the man spoke. "Don't worry, Miss Qiao. The security here is very good. No terrorists will get in." He was implying something. Qiao Ying turned around and saw the man with damp short hair holding a towel in his hand. He was wearing only a white bathrobe, the collar slightly open, exposing muscular, well-defined chest lines. The loose waist tie gave tantalizing glimpses of his abs. "Your clothes." Qiao Ying lightly jerked her chin towards the sofa. Qin Hanyue looked over, and his gaze was immediately drawn to the red wine on the bar counter. The bottle was already half empty. Glancing again at the empty wine bottle cabinet, the one Qiao Ying had taken from, it was the most expensive bottle. Just then, he heard Qiao Ying say, "Sorry, I was a little thirsty and didn't see any water, so I opened a bottle of wine." Qin Hanyue just smiled, not bothered by it, and reminded her, "The water is over there in the corner." Then suddenly he asked, "Miss Chow is of age, right?" Following his words, Qiao Ying looked towards the corner and saw an upright water dispenser, half the height of a person, obvious for even a blind person to see. Before she could give a perfunctory response, she heard Qin Hanyue's next question. Qiao Ying looked back at him. Why was he asking this? Qin Hanyue, adults can drink alcohol. Miss Qiao likes these drinks and can drink as much as she wants. Just be mindful of your health and drink in moderation. His gentlemanly behavior made her seem self-absorbed. Rumors say Master Qin never associates with women intimately. Is he keeping himself pure, or are his standards too high? Or maybe he has some unspeakable affliction. Thinking of this, Qiao Ying's eyes roamed over the man's superior face, lingering on it more than necessary. If he really had some affliction, it would be such a waste. But looking at his healthy complexion and robust constitution, it doesn't seem likely. Could it be congenital? Then it's hard to say. Qin Hanyue noticed the girl's gaze and saw a hint of pity flash through her eyes as she looked at him, as if she was about to shake her head. He asked in confusion, "What's wrong?" "Nothing, I'm going to take a bath." Qiao Ying got up from the sofa, grabbing her clothes. "Thank you for lending me your clothes, Mr. Qin." Then she went into the bedroom. The top floor of the hotel was calm and tranquil, but a storm was brewing on the lower levels. More and more men were infiltrating the massive hotel. Fortunately, Qin Yan had brought enough people at the start, securing the top level tightly. The reinforcements had also arrived outside the hotel, systematically controlling the perimeter. The men lurking in the shadows were itching to make a move, but some scouts came back with troubling news. "Don't act rashly yet." Sure enough, their partners stationed outside soon relayed a message. "God's army is here. Tell our brothers to stand down." God's army? Why are there people here? After spending half the day in the desert, Qiao Ying felt refreshed from her bath. But her good mood only lasted less than a minute. Looking down at her chest after getting dressed, Qiao Ying was momentarily speechless. Well now, the size fit her perfectly, even better than what she bought herself. When Qin Hanyue subtly sized her up while offering to buy her clothes, it did not escape Qiao Ying's notice. That man's eyes were too dangerous. Qiao Ying gritted her teeth secretly. The man was sitting on the sofa in the bedroom, having changed into fresh clothes. With his legs crossed elegantly, he looked every bit the gentleman as he browsed his phone. Qiao Ying came out of the bathroom. "Do the clothes fit well, Miss Qiao? Do you like them?" Qin Hanyue looked up at her. "They fit very well. I like them," Qiao Ying replied. Qin Hanyue thought he detected a frosty tone in her words. He looked puzzledly at the clothes on Qiao Ying. Could she not like them after all? Seeing Qiao Ying's indifferent expression, Qin Hanyue pondered briefly before realizing, once her objective was achieved, she would immediately drop the act. It must be the case now, too. Qin Hanyue smiled slightly. "That's good, then. Good night, Mr. Qin." Qiao Ying rubbed her wet hair and headed for the door. "Wait." Qin Hanyue called out to stop her. "Yes." Qiao Ying turned back to face him, drying her hair. "Does Miss Qiao plan on sleeping on the couch outside?" Qiao Ying glanced at the sofa he was sitting on. She thought, if not the couch outside, then the bed inside? "I'm not picky. If not for you, Mr. Qin, I might have been sleeping on the streets tonight. I'd be lucky to even be alive tomorrow morning." Obviously, she didn't mean that. Qin Hanyue knew her personality well enough by now. He played along ambiguously. Miss Qiao should take the bed. The bed? Qiao Ying looked at the luxurious, soft bed, her elegant eyebrows raised incrementally. "Don't tell me Mr. Qin has taken a liking to me." Qin Hanyue laughed. If Miss Kiao takes the bed, I will naturally sleep on the couch. How can I let you sleep on the couch? That wouldn't be right. Hearing Chao Ying's words, Qin Hanyue knew her mind was active again. He was genuinely offering, but she may not see it that way. This girl really was interesting. I'm a man. My body is tougher. I don't mind the couch. Qin Hanyue put down his phone and got up, walking to the TV cabinet and rummaging inside for something. Qiao Ying watched his back, about to ask, when she saw he had found what he was looking for. The day and night temperature difference is big here. Miss Qiao should dry your hair before sleeping, or you may catch a cold. Qiao Ying lowered her eyes to the hairdryer placed in front of her. Then she raised her eyes back to the man and fell silent for 2 seconds before laughing. Mr. Qin really knows how to take care of people. She took the hairdryer and went into the bathroom to dry her hair. When she came out with dry hair, she saw there was an extra blanket on the sofa where Qin Hanyue had been sitting. Go get some rest, Miss Qiao. Then I'll gladly take you up on it. Qin Hanyue smiled and nodded. Lying on the luxurious, soft bed, Chao Ying wanted to stretch happily. In this new life, it was her first time sleeping in such a nice bed. Mr. Qin is so considerate and gentlemanly. He must be very popular with women. Lying in the cozy bed, Chao Ying kindly remembered to compliment him twice. You flatter me, Miss Qiao. Bai Xiao messaged her asking where she was and if she was safe. Bai Xiao, who was still at the gladiator arena, told Qiao Ying that they'd heard from some people about the Hurricane mercenary group's plan to target them. He was worried for Qiao Ying. Qiao Ying leisurely typed her reply, Hurricane's people are downstairs from me. Bai Xiao was shocked for a moment and was about to gather everyone to go find Qiao Ying when she sent another message. Don't worry, I have people here. To the Hurricane mercenary group, Bai Xiao and the others were negligible. Their target was her, who had great potential to help the Blackwater mercenary group regain its former glory. So Chao Ying was not worried about Bai Xiao and the rest. Miss Qiao, I'm turning off the lights. Qiao Ying didn't look at Qin Hanyue, just vocalized in acknowledgement. Click. The room was plunged into darkness. Qin Hanyue lay on the sofa, a thin blanket covering his waist. He stared at the ceiling and said, Miss Qiao is quite bold to travel in M Continent alone. Aren't your family worried? I'm just here on vacation. Mr. Qin is the one here on business, which should be more dangerous than a worthless commoner like me. Is your family worried? Trying to get her to open up really wasn't easy. Qin Hanyue decided to mimic her evasive style. Business is war. Everywhere has its dangers. I'm a light sleeper. Mr. Qin doesn't snore or grind his teeth in his sleep, does he? Qin Hanyue was resigned at her abrupt topic change. No snoring, teeth grinding, sleep talking, or sleepwalking. Miss Qiao can rest assured. Is that so? Can't say the same for me. Don't blame me if I disturb your sleep, Mr. Qin. She seemed upset at his repeated attempts to draw her out. Qin Hanyue laughed silently. No problem. After that, the room became silent. As a former assassin, Qiao Ying had always been a lone wolf. Let alone sleeping beside someone, even having a cat in the room would make her uneasy. Only a corpse was absolutely safe. Moreover, the one she was sharing a room with this time was the legendary Master Qin. It would be impossible not to feel unsettled. Qiao Ying tossed and turned, straining to hear any noise from the sofa. All she caught was light breathing. In the dead of the night, soft footsteps brushed past the sofa. A figure slipped out of the bedroom, gently shutting the door. The man on the sofa silently opened his eyes. A pair of dark pupils shone bright and deep in the darkness. The next day, early in the morning, Qin Yan knocked on Qin Hanyue's door and was about to speak when Qin Hanyue raised his hand to stop him. Qin Yan did not understand. The next moment, he saw a person walk out of the bedroom, passing by third young Master Qin in a leisurely manner as if no one else was there. Qin Yan looked at Chao Ying, who was yawning with slightly disheveled long hair, clearly having just gotten out of bed. He was shocked, his facial features distorted in disbelief. standing foolishly in place, staring blankly at Qiao Ying. The latter glanced coldly at him, with an expression of displeasure and irritation at being woken up. Qin Yan's body inexplicably shuddered. Having followed his boss Qin Han Yue to all kinds of grand occasions, he had long cultivated the skill of maintaining composure even in the face of the collapse of Mount Tai. Moreover, he was naturally inclined to have rich inner thoughts with a calm exterior, so no matter how excited he was, he could remain calm on the surface. Until this moment, Qin Yan pointed at Qiao Ying behind Qin Han Yue, completely losing control. Qin Han Yue ignored him, but looked at Qiao Ying, who was sitting casually on the sofa, supporting her head with one hand and looking out the window, completely at ease as if this was her own home. He asked with concern, "Miss Qiao, how did you sleep last night?" Leaving Qin Yan to be confused on his own, Qiao Ying looked at the man, her gaze falling on the handsome and abstinent face. Having successfully raised her eyes, she felt happy and deigned to reveal a slight smile. "Still okay. How about Mr. Qin? It must be very uncomfortable to sleep on the sofa. Were you able to turn over?" Last night, Qin Han Yue had voluntarily given up the bed and slept on the sofa. Qiao Ying had been surprised. The prestigious third young master Qin must have been pampered since childhood. How could he have suffered such grievance? But she had not expected him to be willing to lower himself like this. Sleep on the sofa? Qin Yan's eyes widened in shock, and he almost cried out. He looked at his boss in disbelief, one hand clutching his heart. He couldn't take so much stimulation this early in the morning. Qin Han Yue frowned to himself. In his heart he thought in front of his subordinates, this young lady really has no consideration for his reputation. Could she be doing it on purpose? Fortunately, Qin Yan was discreet. "It was the first time, so it really was a bit uncomfortable," said Qin Han Yue. "Mr. Qin has really suffered," said Qiao Ying. "You overstate it. I am a grown man and not so delicate. As long as Miss Qiao slept well, that's fine. However," Qin Han Yue changed the subject. "Last night, when Miss Qiao suddenly got up in the middle of the night, it really startled me. I had thought Miss Qiao was joking about sleepwalking." Qiao Ying's expression was unchanged as she followed along. "Did I startle Mr. Qin? I'm really sorry." Qin Han Yue slightly shook his head to indicate it was nothing. Qiao Ying asked, "I didn't do anything inappropriate, did I?" Qin Han Yue's thoughts were pulled back to the previous night. After Qiao Ying had left the room, she soon returned, quietly and silently. However, she did not get directly into bed, but came to the sofa and crouched down to look at him. Lying on the sofa, Qin Han Yue could feel Qiao Ying's gaze on his face, smell the same shampoo scent on both their bodies, and her breathing right next to him. Her breathing was steady and subtle, so subtle it was almost imperceptible, making Qin Han Yue unable to discern whether she really was sleepwalking and in a state of sleep, or had martial arts training and knew how to control herself. He did not believe her claim of sleepwalking. Qiao Ying just stared at him and did not do anything else. After a while, she returned to the bed. After that, Qin Han Yue opened his eyes. His hearing was very good, but after Qiao Ying had left the bedroom, he could not hear whether she had left the room or just stayed in the living room for a while. Qin Han Yue calmly retrieved his thoughts. "No." Qiao Ying smiled. "That's good. Otherwise it would have been awkward." Qin Han Yue asked, "Does Miss Qiao want to dine in the room or go to the restaurant?" "Either is fine with me." "Then let's go take a look at the restaurant." Qiao Ying looked at Qin Han Yue, a fleeting, indiscernible expression in her eyes. Then she stood up. "Let me go brush my teeth first." As Qiao Ying entered the bedroom, the gentleness on Qin Han Yue's face instantly disappeared. Qin Yan was still in a daze, his mind blank. He suddenly heard his master coldly ask, "What was the matter you knocked on the door for this morning?" "Ah." Qin Yan was clearly still in shock. After reacting, he quickly lowered his voice and said, "Third young master, I've confirmed the identities of those people. They are from the Hurricane Mercenary Group." "Where are they now?" asked Qin Han Yue. "Still in the hotel. They've checked in. Over 20 people, booked one room, stationed right below us. They probably didn't make a move last night because of us being here. Qin Yan did not understand. The Hurricane Mercenary Group is ranked among the top in the entire M continent in strength. How could they be targeting an ordinary person like Miss Kiao? What enmity could she have incurred? Although M continent is chaotic, with few women around, the men here can't help being thirsty and desperate. But with Miss Kiao's looks, it's unlikely she would attract such a big reaction from Hurricane. Moreover, if it was really over some male-female business, it would have been dangerous the moment Miss Kiao set foot in M continent. How could she have strolled around the Colosseum and still be safe and sound? An ordinary person. Qin Hanyue did not think so at all. Seeing Qin Hanyue lost in thought, Qin Yan couldn't restrain his gossiping heart and cautiously probed. Third young master, she and you and her, last night, you too. Qin Yan was eager to know. Qiao Ying, who should have been in the next room, how did she appear here? And his third young master, who should have been sleeping comfortably in a big bed, how did he end up relegated to the sofa? Qin Yan could not imagine third young master Qin sleeping on the sofa. Qin Hanyue, did you hear any movement last night? Qin Yan immediately put on a serious face. No, nothing. The sound insulation in this hotel is very good. We didn't hear anything. Qin Hanyue frowned and turned to look at Qin Yan, whose face was full of ulterior motives and whose expression was exceptionally lively. Suddenly his tone sank and his face turned cold. I'm asking about Hurricane Mercenary Group's people. Qin Yan was startled, frightened into coughing. No, nothing. They didn't dare make reckless moves. Facing Qin Hanyue's vexing gaze, Qin Yan didn't dare breathe loudly. But his heart was secretly active. Was the third young master deliberately avoiding the topic? Something was fishy. A man and a woman alone together in a room, and the third young master had been abstinent for so many years. Plus, there was Miss Kiao sleepwalking that was just mentioned. Qin Yan did not believe nothing had happened. But weren't they too far apart in age? When they arrived downstairs at the restaurant, Qiao Ying immediately sensed something wrong with the atmosphere. Almost all of those staying here were mercenaries who had come to participate in the Colosseum fights. Those sitting in the restaurant did not look like ordinary people at all. Among them were Hurricane Mercenary Group's people. Qin Hanyue and the others, dressed in suits clearly different from the rest with their identities, naturally attracted attention as soon as they appeared, especially with a delicate girl in her late teens among them. As soon as they showed up, they naturally became the focus of the room, especially the Hurricane Mercenary Group. Their eyes brimming with killing intent followed Qiao Ying closely, and their knives and forks cut up the food on their plates with stroke after stroke. Qin Yan noticed Hurricane Mercenary Group's people and whispered a reminder to Qin Hanyue, third young master. But Qin Hanyue paid them no heed and led Qiao Ying to a window seat. What would you like to eat, Miss Kiao? Qin Hanyue handed the menu to Qiao Ying courteously. Qiao Ying randomly ordered some dishes. The food came up quickly. Qin Hanyue said, "Please go ahead, Miss Qiao. Don't stand on ceremony." "It's so fortunate to run into Mr. Qin here," said Qiao Ying as she readily ate. Qin Hanyue smiled. "I'm also very fortunate to meet an acquaintance while traveling outside." The two chatted while eating, looking quite happy. Just then, Qin Hanyue suddenly said, "It seems they recognize you, Miss Kiao. Are they friends? Should we go say hello?" Following Qin Hanyue's line of sight, Qiao Ying looked towards the Hurricane Mercenary Group. Qiao Ying withdrew her gaze gently and took a mouthful of fruit salad into her mouth. She said slowly, "I was also wondering if it was Mr. Qin's friend. I saw them staring at you all the time. What a good move to turn the tables on him and pass the buck so decisively." Qin Yan, who was on the side, couldn't help but yell 666. Qin Hanyue. "Then it seems there is a misunderstanding. Where are you going next, Mr. Qin?" "I have some business to take care of. Does Miss Kiao have any thoughts?" "Miss Kiao said last night that she wanted to go to the Colosseum today. I can accompany Miss Kiao there tonight. If it was before, Qin Yan would only feel that Qin Hanyue's considerate care for Qiao Ying was because of Qin Yuchen, and the rest was just perfunctory. But after the two inexplicably spent the whole night together last night, everything had become unusual. No matter how Qin Yan looked at it, it seemed ambiguous. After all, when had the third master been so gentle and gracious to others, even if he was acting? Can I go with you to do business, Mr. Qin? I don't dare to go out and play by myself. This hotel, Chao Ying looked around at the pairs of covetous eyes. I don't really dare to stay here either. These people don't look like good people. Qin Yan scolded wildly in his heart. You've come to M State, and you're still afraid of these. Only our third master would indulge you. Miss Kiao doesn't need to be afraid. I will arrange for someone to accompany Miss Kiao, said Qin Hanyue. But they don't make me feel as safe as Mr. Qin does. Qin Yan gasped silently. What else could Qin Hanyue say? He could only smile and remind her, accompanying me to do business may be more dangerous. Qiao Ying, I believe Mr. Qin can protect me well. Qin Hanyue nodded. That's natural. After breakfast, when Chao Ying went back to her room to go to the bathroom, Qin Yan hurriedly asked, Third Master, are you taking Miss Chao back to headquarters? Qin Yan wanted to remind Qin Hanyue that he had said last night that it was a scenic spot. Qin Hanyue, notify the other party that the meeting place has been changed to their turf. Get ready, we'll go over. As soon as Qin Yan heard this, he was shocked. Third Master, this won't work. It's too risky. Qin Hanyue, Miss Kiao wants to come along. It's not convenient to take her to headquarters. Qin Hanyue vaguely guessed why Chao Ying was sticking to him and what her purpose was. With Miss Kiao coming along, you have to be more careful and prudent. If anything happens to you, Qin Hanyue's voice deepened. You talk too much. After one night, there were obviously more people around Qin Hanyue than last night, with dozens of luxury cars carrying 60 or 70 people. There must be more in the shadows. Qiao Ying stood at the entrance of the hotel, imperceptibly looking around. She saw Yi Saisi's gang had followed them down and was standing in the hotel lobby staring at her. Sure enough, after getting into the car, the familiar truck reappeared in the rearview mirror. Qiao Ying said to herself, what a persistent bastard. She should have just sent them to the west last night when she got up. Qiao Ying's gaze then turned to the man beside her. Yi Saisi's people still didn't dare make a move. They just dared to follow behind, apparently intimidated by Qin Hanyue. This man surnamed Qin, what's his background? Noticing Qiao Ying's gaze, Qin Hanyue asked, Is there something on my face? Qiao Ying, no, just looking at how handsome you are. Qin Hanyue gave a wry smile. Thank you. The car drove southeast for more than 2 hours. The prosperous streets slowly became desolate. The tall buildings turned into small houses, and the environment became worse. There were scattered soldiers everywhere, standing still and looking coldly at their convoy passing by. Soon, a stockade appeared before their eyes. The stockade was not very large in scale, but nestled against the mountains and waters, giving a feeling of seclusion. The scenery was quite nice. It's just that the weapons in those people's hands and the large pools of blood on the roadside that hadn't been cleaned up were a bit of an eyesore. The convoy was stopped by the guards at the gate. If you're afraid, you can wait for me in the car. Qin Hanyue said to Chao Ying. No need, I'll go with Mr. Qin. Qiao Ying got out of the car after him. The guards came up and demanded a body search in the local language. Qin Yan first looked at Chao Ying, then at Qin Hanyue. Seeing that Qin Hanyue didn't say anything, Qin Yan let them search. Then Qiao Ying saw them take a Desert Eagle from Qin Yan's body, and she couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. Not bad. Qin Hanyue is quite generous to provide such a good gun for his subordinates. After searching Qin Yan, those people turned their eyes to Qin Hanyue. But when they received Qin Hanyue's cold and dangerous glare, they had to reluctantly turn their eyes to Chao Ying. The result was the same. So they had to skip over again, thinking that even if a little girl had a weapon, it wouldn't pose much of a threat. Qin Yan took more than a dozen subordinates who were best at martial arts to follow Qin Hanyue into the stockade, while the rest stayed outside. The stockade was made of wood, with 2 floors. After walking in, it was discovered that there was also an open-air balcony inside, and the person who was going to talk business with Qin Hanyue was already waiting on the balcony with tea brewed. Mr. Qin, welcome, welcome. Yi Saisi pushed away the sexy woman in his arms. took the cigarette from his mouth and stood up, enthusiastically reaching out to Qin Hanyue with both hands. This man was wearing a floral shirt and shorts, a pair of slippers, and a long scar that split his left eye in two. This familiar scar. Qiao Ying raised her eyebrows. Nice. Another familiar face. Qin Hanyue didn't shake hands with the other party. He had seen that both of the man's hands weren't idle on the woman earlier when he came in. Yi Seizi didn't mind either. He clamped the cigarette in his mouth and invited Qin Hanyue to sit down. Then he noticed the student-looking Qiao Ying. Before Yi Seizi could say anything, he saw Qin Hanyue sit down and pat the seat next to him, saying to the girl, "Sit here." So Qiao Ying sat down too. Seeing this, Yi Seizi's gaze turned cunningly over Qiao Ying's body twice. Then he flattered Qin Hanyue in fluent native Philippine language, occasionally mixing in some English. "Mr. Qin likes young student girls? I have sources. Just tell me how many you want, Mr. Qin, and I'll send them to you right away." Qin Hanyue's eyebrows twitched slightly. Realizing he had said the wrong thing, Yi Seizi quickly smiled apologetically and changed the subject. "Let me introduce myself first." Yi Seizi talked on while brewing tea for Qin Hanyue himself, saying in clumsy Mandarin, "I know you Chinese people like to drink tea. I prepared it especially for Mr. Qin. Try it." He didn't forget to pour a cup for Qiao Ying, who was playing on her phone. Qin Hanyue lowered his eyes to look at the hot tea in the cup and said in fluent Philippine language, "I'm picky about what I put in my mouth. I can't drink tea from outside." "Mr. Qin speaks Tagalog very well." Yi Seizi put down the teapot and took a puff of his cigarette. "In that case, I won't beat around the bush either. I just came to M State recently and didn't understand the rules. I caused trouble for Mr. Qin. Let me make up for it." As he spoke, Yi Seizi clapped his hands. Then Yi Seizi's men brought in 7 or 8 wooden boxes. When opened, they were full of guns and ammunition. Qiao Ying couldn't help but glance sideways at this. Since I want to gain a foothold in M State, I naturally have to show my sincerity. As long as Mr. Qin nods, from now on every month Mr. Qin will see my sincerity. Don't worry, Mr. Qin, I'll keep to the rules here. As Yi Seizi spoke, he hugged 2 women in his arms again. He had an arrogant attitude full of confidence. Qin Hanyue crossed his long legs and pressed his interlaced fingers. He lowered his eyes to look at his hands and said lightly, "On the 6th, my goods, did you grab them?" Qin Hanyue slowly raised his eyes to look at Yi Seizi across from him. "Oh, isn't that Mr. Qin's cargo?" Yi Seizi pretended to be surprised, then quickly clasped his hands together and apologized repeatedly. "What a terrible mistake. My men just arrived here and rashly charged at Mr. Qin's things. I'm so sorry about that. That's unforgivable. It was clearly done on purpose, trying to intimidate Qin Hanyue and give him a show of force, telling Qin Hanyue and the entire M continent that he was not to be trifled with." This was Yi Seizi's usual tactic. He had never failed before. Unfortunately, this time he had kicked an iron plate. In Qin Hanyue's eyes, these tricks of his were not intimidating, but asking for death. Qin Hanyue looked coldly at Yi Seizi. "Return to me everything you snatched away just as it was. If anything is missing, I'll make you regret coming to M Continent." "Of course, Mr. Qin, don't be angry. I'll personally bring the goods later and come to apologize to you, Mr. Qin. I guarantee everything will be returned intact. Please don't blame me, Mr. Qin." Realizing Qin Hanyue was not so easy to deal with, Yi Seizi immediately turned the dozen or so boxes of guns and ammunition into gifts of apology. He tried to curry favor. "Consider these things as my gifts of apology to Mr. Qin. Another day I'll—" But before he could finish speaking, the man across from him interrupted. "No need. Mr. Qin means—" Yi Seizi's expression froze for a moment, his sole remaining eye fixed tightly on Qin Hanyue, flickering oddly between dark and bright, seemingly ready to lash out at any moment. "I don't care for these things," Qin Hanyue said expressionlessly. "Also, M Continent does not welcome you. You have 3 days to pack up and leave." Yi Seizi gritted his teeth, the muscles on his gaunt face visibly clenched. Yi Seizi said fiercely, "It's Mr. Qin who doesn't welcome me, or is it M Continent who doesn't welcome me?" A trace of disdainful smile lifted the corner of Qin Hanyue's lips. Does it make a difference? On M continent, what I say goes. Mr. Qin, one shouldn't be too arrogant. Gluttony can choke you to death. Yi Saisi's tone grew steadily colder. His lone eye was like a venomous snake lurking in the shadows, spitting poison, poised to strike. Qin Hanyue, would you like to try the taste of being food? Yi Saisi clenched his teeth, the swelling muscles on his hollow cheeks clearly visible. Yi Saisi said viciously, Mr. Qin, coming to my turf with so few men, I thought this would be a pleasant negotiation. It seems I underestimated Mr. Qin's audacity, but overconfidence can come at a price. As soon as Yi Saisi finished speaking, his men tightened their grips on their guns, ready to lift and fire at any moment, which would end Qin Hanyue's group in an instant. Almost the moment Yi Saisi's men moved, Qin Yan and the others unhesitatingly used their own bodies to surround and shield Qin Hanyue and Qiao Yang. The two groups of people were instantly at daggers drawn. Qin Hanyue moved his sore neck slightly, flicked his tongue over his gums, a flash of fierceness on his face, unlike his usual gentlemanly warmth. His thin lips curled up as he coldly warned, "Think carefully before making a move against me on M continent." The atmosphere grew tense, like a taut bowstring ready to snap. Abruptly, a youthful voice broke the heavy silence. "The exam results come out at midnight. Let me know after you check them." As the atmosphere was disrupted, all eyes turned to the girl playing on her phone in the chair. Receiving the sudden attention, Qiao Ying blinked and apologetically said to Qin Hanyue, "The signal here isn't great." Then, under the stare of all the eyes present, she nonchalantly started tapping away at her phone, chatting on WeChat as if no one else was there. Watching Qiao Ying sitting even more relaxed and casual than Qin Hanyue, practically sprawling in the chair, Qin Yan was rendered speechless. Looking around, no one was more relaxed than her. Where was the timid girl from the hotel who kept saying she was scared and had to accompany young Master Qin? Qin Yan suspected she was selectively blind, unable to grasp the situation. He wondered if he should remind her to lift her head and take a look around. "You remind me of someone." Yi Saisi looked at Qiao Ying and suddenly spoke in Mandarin so terrible it would make any Chinese person cringe. Yi Saisi took a drag of his cigarette, his eye holding some indiscernible emotion, hate or something else. "When I was in Southeast Asia, she was around your age, also a Chinese girl." Qiao Ying looked up. Yi Saisi smoked his cigarette. The ugly, horrifying scar on his left eye writhed with his movements. At first glance, it looked like a centipede crawling on his eyelid. The sight of his scar made Qiao Ying want to laugh. It was none other than Ye Sai who gave him that scar. Back then in Southeast Asia, Yi Saisi, with both eyes still intact, had his sights on her, calling her the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen, and declared he would make her his woman. She hadn't even gotten angry yet when Ye Sai already was. With a flick of his blade, Yi Saisi was sprayed with blood on the spot, reduced to his current state. At that time in Southeast Asia, Yi Saisi ruled as king, closely tied with local criminal organizations, not one to take lightly. Yet in less than a week, Ye Sai hauled his family and arsenal of heavy weaponry out of Southeast Asia, blasting Ye Saisi away. What made Qiao Ying want to laugh was that, whether down to bad luck or some fate with Ye Si, Yi Saisi fled Southeast Asia and of all places coincidentally escaped to Country M. Before Yi Saisi could gain a foothold, he was horrified to find Country M was Ye Sai's base. Scared witless, Yi Saisi fled again overnight. From then on, Ye Sai became Yi Saisi's lingering nightmare. She didn't expect Yi Saisi to resurface so quickly, just 3 years later, and run to M continent no less. "But you're not as pretty as her," Yi Saisi said. Qiao Ying's brow quirked up slightly. "Thank you." That single thanks left Yi Saisi confused, making him wonder if his Mandarin was too terrible or he misspoke. Qin Yan's reaction was not much better, thinking he calls you ugly and you thank him? Are you missing some brains or eardrums? You say thank you? Yi Saisi was truly bewildered. Seeing his reaction, with that ugly appearance, made Qiao Ying want to laugh even more. The corners of her lips twitched with the effort to keep a straight face as she said to Qin Hanyue, "I need the restroom." Without even waiting for Qin Hanyue's response, Qiao Ying got up. "Qin Hanyue, Qin Yan, accompany Miss Qiao." "Qin Yan, yes, sir." Yi Seizi signaled two of his men with his eyes. But Qiao Ying said, "No need. I can go myself." Qin Yan frowned, finding her antics a bit much for such a situation. "Miss Qiao." Yet before he could say anything, Qin Hanyue already said, "Let her go herself. Miss Qiao, take care of your own safety. Keep talking. I'll be right back." Qiao Ying waved and left on her own. Yi Seizi naturally couldn't ask his men to follow her either. He watched Qiao Ying's departing back pensively. There were over a dozen wooden houses of varying sizes surrounding the main building, and nearly every one had armed men standing guard out front. After leaving the main building, Qiao Ying's gaze landed on one heavily guarded wooden house in particular. She circled around to the back of the house, avoiding the guard's eyes, and came up to the window. Lifting up one corner of the window, she peeked inside. The guards at the door were diligently doing their job, unaware an extra person had entered the house. Qiao Ying opened one of the wooden boxes. Packed full inside were advanced timed explosives. This house was full of firearms and ammunition. No wonder Yi Seizi was so confident. There really was a lot of equipment. Given just these supplies, any mercenary group would be able to rampage across M continent. Looking at the timed explosives in the box, Qiao Ying had some unknown thoughts. Suddenly she tilted her head, a crafty gleam appearing in her eyes. On the open balcony, the tea had gone cold, losing its fragrance. Qiao Ying leisurely returned, looking as if she had just taken a stroll in her own backyard. Oblivious to the people around her wielding weapons, she seemed quite content. "Mr. Qin, is the business negotiation finished? It seems to be getting late, and I'm a bit hungry," Qiao Ying said. "Miss Qiao is hungry." Qin Hanyue stood up and walked to Qiao Ying's side. "Then let's go back." However, before they could leave, the dark muzzles of guns were all aimed at them. Qin Hanyue turned around and coldly looked at Yi Seizi. Yi Seizi bit on his cigarette, his gaze lingering on Qin Hanyue for a few seconds before settling on Qiao Ying. After a moment, Yi Seizi raised his hand, signaling his men to lower their guns. "You have 3 days," Qin Hanyue said to Yi Seizi in his native language. Then he and his men left briskly. "Boss, why did you let them go? We had the perfect opportunity handed to us. We should have taken action." One of Yi Seizi's men approached him, making a throat-slashing gesture with his hand. Yi Seizi shook his head slightly, his gaze following Qiao Ying, who was by Qin Hanyue's side. Initially, he had regarded Qiao Ying as an insignificant woman by Qin Hanyue's side, no different from the other two in his arms. But just now, Qiao Ying reminded him of that enchanting girl from China, and that girl was no mere empty vessel. Although the girl hadn't made a move back then, his intuition told him that she would be more terrifying than Nais, who had taken his eye. The bloody lesson taught Yi Seizi that those who appeared harmless but possessed an extraordinary calmness were not to be underestimated. One Qin Hanyue was already making him wary. If that girl was also, then anything he did would be tantamount to seeking his own death. Qin Hanyue and his group walked out of the village and drove away. The car had only traveled a dozen meters when a loud explosion resounded. Then, like a twitching body part, one loud explosion followed another. Qin Yan, who had just left the main village and was still on high alert, was startled, nearly jumping out of his seat. He hurriedly lowered his head to take cover, his heart about to burst out of his chest. The deafening blast rang in people's ears, buzzing incessantly. Qin Yan looked up and saw a large blaze and billowing black smoke rising from the village behind them. Noises of chaos continuously emanated from the village. At the moment of the explosion, the guards at the entrance were so frightened that they nearly fell to the ground, their faces turning pale. After recovering, they hastily ran toward the village. Qin Yan, bewildered, asked, "What's going on?" Qin Hanyue remained unfazed, seemingly mentally prepared for the explosion. It didn't startle him. He replied nonchalantly, "With the dry weather, things weren't stored properly and self-ignited, causing the explosion. Let's go." Dry weather? Bloody hell, third brother. You spent the night with a young girl, and now you're spouting nonsense. Ah, damn it. You've learned how to talk rubbish so casually. Even when comforting a young girl, it shouldn't be this absurd. Qin Yan quickly stepped on the accelerator, leaving that troublesome place. Miss Qiao wasn't scared, was she? Qin Hanyue asked with concern. Fortunately, it's similar to setting off fireworks, just that it makes your ears hurt a bit, Qiao Ying said, covering her ears with one hand. Qin Hanyue watched Qiao Ying covering her ears, a faint smile appearing in his eyes. These things have too many chemical components, and when they explode, it's all black smoke. It's far inferior to fireworks. Miss Qiao likes fireworks. I can set them off for Miss Qiao. M Continent doesn't prohibit fireworks. How can this be related to fireworks? This is a freaking huge explosion. Qin Yan truly couldn't understand the way these two people were chatting. Third Master, with the scale of this explosion, could it be that the arsenal of Yi Sai Si blew up? Who could have done it? Qin Yan would be an idiot to believe Qin Hanyue's dry, spontaneous combustion explanation. Will they blame us for this? Qin Yan looked at the blazing village in the rearview mirror. He was worried about this. Just after the failed negotiation with the other party, as soon as they left their territory, the other party's nest exploded into flames. They would definitely be blamed for this mess. A lot of people must have died in an explosion of this scale. Blame it on Mr. Qin. What should we do then? Qiao Ying looked at Qin Hanyue with some concern. Watching Qiao Ying, who completely distanced herself from the situation, acting without any sincerity, Qin Hanyue said earnestly, "Miss Qiao, don't worry, we are upright and have nothing to fear from false accusations." Qin Yan lost control of his expression for the second time today. Damn it, how can one be so shameless? Third Master, did you sleep on the sofa last night and haven't woken up yet? Would you like to hear what you're saying? Qiao Ying nodded. Makes sense. Mr. Qin is upright and not afraid of false accusations. Qin Hanyu took out a bottle of mineral water, opened it, and handed it to Qiao Ying, saying, "There's nothing to eat in the car. Sorry for the inconvenience, Miss Qiao." Qiao Ying took a sip. "It's okay. I can hold on for a while. Let's eat at the hotel." Qin Yan, why do I feel so superfluous? As soon as they arrived back at the hotel, Qin Hanyue took his men to the 8th floor to have a meal. Only after Qiao Ying had eaten her fill and had her fill of drinks did they go to the top floor. Qin Hanyue took out his room key, opened the door and turned around, only to see two people following him, Qin Yan and Qiao Ying. Qin Yan, sandwiched in the middle, sensed something and turned around to look, only to find Qiao Ying standing behind him. Before he could speak, Qin Yan heard his own master suddenly say, "What do you want?" Qin Yan vaguely felt that this was directed at him. So he turned his head and indeed saw Qin Hanyue looking at him with a calm expression. Qin Yan felt a chill in his neck for no reason. I have two more things to say." Qin Hanyue said, "We'll talk after dinner." Qin Yan's legs trembled. Okay. He hurriedly left from between the two. Just as he took a few steps, he heard the man's warm and gentle voice asking the young lady, "Is Miss Qiao also afraid to be alone in the room during the day?" The difference in treatment. Qiao Ying replied, "It's not about being afraid of the people in that village blaming Mr. Qin for the explosion. I'm afraid they will cause trouble for us." Qin Hanyue fell silent, comforting the girl with a smile, although there was a hint of helplessness on his face. Qin Hanyue invited her into the room. With the urgent matter at hand, Qin Yan could only call Qin Hanyue in the room. Qin Yan suspected that the explosion was the work of the Hurricane Mercenary Corps, who had been following them all along in order to frame them. The purpose behind this was undoubtedly related to Qiao Ying. Qin Yan became even more curious about the grudge between Qiao Ying and the Hurricane Mercenary Corps. Qin Yan's analysis was logical and well-founded. Qin Hanyue, however, commented, You've got a brain, but not much of it. And then he hung up the phone. Qin Yan. The signal in the village was indeed poor, and Qiao Ying's messages hadn't been sent. Now she was sitting on the sofa in the living room, resenting them to Qiao Yi. While they were chatting, a sudden pain bloomed in her lower abdomen. A warm flow followed immediately. Qiao Ying's typing hands paused, and her eyebrows furrowed. What's wrong? The man by the French windows put away his phone and turned around to see Qiao Ying's expression. The situation between Qiao Ying and the Hurricane Mercenary Corps hadn't been figured out yet, and now another big explosion happened. Qin Yan held his phone, deep in thought, when Qin Hanyue's call came in. When he heard Qin Hanyue's instructions, Qin Yan, with an IQ of 195 and ranking in the top 10 of the hacker leaderboard, had his mind snap and fall into a valley. After a long while, just before Qin Hanyue lost his patience, Qin Yan managed to retrieve his thoughts. At the moment he boarded the helicopter, Qin Yan's expression was still as colorful as graffiti. Flying in a majestic helicopter across the M continent to find sanitary napkins, Qin Yan thought to himself, if this were to get out, not only would he be ridiculed, but even his master and the entire God's Armed Alliance would become a laughingstock. Qin Hanyue poured a glass of warm water and handed it to Qiao Ying when she came out of the restroom. Mem's continent lacks nothing, except for things that girls need. It will take some time to get them. Please be patient. Boss, what does that look in your eyes mean? Don't you have any women at home? Even if you don't have a wife, you must have a mother, right? What's with that expression over such a physiological issue? Boss, hello, let me make this clear first. I don't need this for myself, and I don't have any peculiar interests either. Hey boss, say something, will you? What's with staring at me like that? Hey boss, don't come over here. What are you trying to do? Don't move. Listen to me first. Nod if you understand, shake your head if you don't, and don't say anything else, and stay away from me. You're the pervert. Your whole family are perverts. You think I can't understand your bird language. You don't want to stay in M continent anymore, right? Let go of me, all of you. Today I must compare notes with him no matter what. Qin Yan swore and cursed as he was dragged out of the nth shop by two of his subordinates. Furious, he hurled every profanity he knew at the shop for a full 2 minutes. Never had he been so rude and irritable. Taking a deep breath and turning around, he saw his subordinates' faces twisted in suppressed laughter. Qin Yan spat indiscriminate fire at them. Laugh, 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 laugh your ass off, why don't you? Keep looking. I'll be damned if I can't find one in a place as big as M continent. In the hotel room, Qin Hanyue noticed Qiao Ying was looking increasingly pale, with beads of sweat appearing on her forehead and the tip of her nose, as if she felt cold. He went into the bedroom and took the blanket he had used the previous night. Unfolding it, he covered Qiao Ying's abdomen and legs. Although Qin Hanyue was decisive and commanding in the business world, this was also his first time dealing with such a situation. Other than handing her a cup of warm water and covering her with a blanket, he didn't know what else to do. Seeing that Qiao Ying was uncomfortable, Qin Hanyue asked, Miss Qiao, do you need to go to the hospital? Or do you need some painkillers? No need. Qin Hanyue could only let it go. Suddenly, as if recalling something, he silently looked it up on his phone. After gaining some understanding, he sent a message for Qin Yan to buy some brown sugar on his way back. Mr. Qin, could you help me find a long, thin needle? Qin Hanyue was taken aback for a moment, then understood what Qiao Ying wanted the needle for and agreed. Just as Qiao Ying was nearing impatience, Qin Yan finally returned. Qin Hanyue went to open the door. Qin Yan looked as if he had been through something at the door. His previously neatly styled hair was disheveled and his clothes wrinkled. Above his mask, his previously shrewd eyes now appeared somewhat blank. This made Qin Hanyue frown inadvertently. Did he go shopping or try and fail to rob someone? Young master, Qin Yan listlessly pulled down his mask, revealing an ashen face. I have dust allergy, Achu. He held up his mask as he explained, wilting under Qin Hanyue's icy stare. A disconsolate Qin Yan cried out inwardly. All this was to keep up appearances as a god of war. Here are the needle and brown sugar you wanted, and the other thing. Qin Yan shoved the items at Qin Hanyue as if they were too hot to handle. A large black plastic bag, filled to bulging. Qin Hanyue took the heavy bag, and his temple immediately throbbed as he gritted his teeth. Buying so much. Are you using it too? Supplies are scarce. Better to be prepared. You have no idea how hard it was to find this stuff. I had to search half the shops in M Continent. Before he could finish, the door banged shut. Every single boss was inhuman. Faced with the door panel inches from his nose, Qin Yan finished miserably. They weren't human. Qin Hanyue's eyes nearly popped looking at the variety of packaging in the bag. He randomly grabbed 2 packs and took them to Qiao Ying in the bathroom. Miss Qiao, I've bought the things back. Qin Hanyue knocked on the door. In the 2 hours plus it took Qin Yan to buy the items. Qiao Ying had gone to the bathroom 4 or 5 times and had not come out after the last time. Sounds came from inside the bathroom. After a while, the door opened a crack. A fair and delicate hand reached out from inside. After Qiao Ying had done her business and came out of the bathroom, Qin Hanyue already had a cup of brown sugar water waiting for her. Qiao Ying knew perfectly well whether this brown sugar water would work, but still accepted it and said, "Thank you for the trouble, Mr. Qin." Qin Hanyue said, "This was the only kind of needle I could find." Qiao Ying took the box of needles Qin Hanyue handed to her. Opening it, there were over 10 needles inside that were sufficiently long and thin, about 7 or 8 parts similar to acupuncture needles, better than she had imagined. Holding the needles, Qiao Ying went to the TV cabinet to find a lighter provided by the hotel, then sat down on the sofa. Qin Hanyue stood to the side watching as Qiao Ying used the lighter to heat the needle tips until they glowed red hot, then lifted one foot and inserted the needle into her ankle side, about 4 fingers width above the Sanyinjiao acupoint, lightly twirling the needle's tail between her fingertips. The needle rotated and sank deeper into her skin with Qiao Ying's movements. Is this moxibustion? Because of his father's illness, Qin Hanyue was quite familiar with Old Ming from Mingshan Tang and had witnessed such acupuncture techniques a few times. Qiao Ying glanced at the man. Her hands kept working. Qin Hanyue's gaze shifted between Qiao Ying's seemingly focused yet effortless face and her hands. When Qiao Ying inserted the second needle, Qin Hanyue suddenly saw her grab the hem of her top in a motion to lift it. Qin Hanyue quickly turned around to avoid looking. Seeing the man's back, Qiao Ying's mouth curved slightly. She hitched up her top over her abdomen, tugged her waistband down a little, and inserted the needle 4 inches below her navel at the Zhongji acupoint. Qin Hanyue stood with his back turned and waited a while, unsure how much longer Qiao Ying would need. He then said, "I'll wait outside. Call me if you need anything, Miss Qiao." Just as he lifted his foot, Qiao Ying's voice came, "I need you now." Qin Hanyue turned back around. The girl handed him a needle and the lighter. Before he could ask, the girl had already flopped stomach down on the sofa and told him, "The Ciliao acupoint, located at the sacrum, just below the lower posterior crest of the ilium, directly below the second posterior sacral foramen." As she spoke, she reached behind to press a spot below her lower back. "Help me insert a needle here, Mr. Qin." Qin Hanyue held the items and stood by the sofa, unmoving. Qiao Ying looked back at him, thinking he didn't understand. She propped herself up with some exasperation and reached out to the man. Qin Hanyue instinctively tried to dodge her hand, but in his hesitation her hand had already slipped under his suit jacket and probed towards his lower back. "Here." Qiao Ying pressed the Ciliao acupoint on him. Qin Hanyue's grip on the items tightened involuntarily, and his expression stiffened slightly. This spot was rather private. He could feel the girl's soft fingertips through his clothes. "Don't tell me Mr. Qin is shy." Qiao Ying withdrew her hand and flopped back down on the sofa, not even glancing at the man as she spoke. She didn't hear a response from him, but after a while the sound of the lighter igniting rang out. Then her waist was lifted again as the man tugged her pants down slightly. The large exposed patch of skin felt a faint coolness, Next was the subtle pain of the searing needle piercing her skin. Qin Anyue perfectly replicated Qiao Ying's earlier technique, twirling his fingertips to insert the silver needle deeper. In his field of vision was the girl's exposed large patch of fair skin. The man's eyes darkened imperceptibly. A few minutes later, Qin Hanyue removed the needle, even thoughtfully helping to pull her top down. The previously swollen, painful feeling in her abdomen was finally much relieved. This body's constitution was exceptionally poor. Qiao Ying had already experienced the feeling of painful menstruation unknown in her past life from the very first month. Upon getting the silver needles, when she got her period, Qiao Ying immediately needled herself for several days. For Shui Ying, who was numb to physical pain and torture, she would rather take a knife than endure this menstrual pain for 5 or 6 days. Fortunately, several sessions of treatment did the trick. Seeing the blood return to Qiao Ying's face, Qin Hanyue said, "Last time at Principal Zhang's house, I felt Zhang was exaggerating a bit considering your age. Seeing it with my own eyes today, I was short-sighted. It's just ordinary moxibustion. Still, it's easy to treat stuff like impotence, premature ejaculation, and the like. Seeing how well Mr. Qin has treated me, I can give Mr. Qin a few free needles to try out." Qin Hanyue, me, impotent, premature ejaculation? Could it be dysmenorrhea? Qiao Ying thought to herself. Just kidding. Qiao Ying rolled over and lay on her back to sleep. A joke. Qin Hanyue's thin lips quivered slightly, as if wanting to say something. But seeing Qiao Ying with her eyes closed resting, he had to let it go. Qiao Ying simply fell asleep. When she was half asleep, she suddenly felt her body become light. She opened her eyes wide, and the first thing she saw was Qin Hanyue's face. Discovering that she was being carried by Qin Hanyue, a flash of killing intent passed through Qiao Ying's eyes. If she had a knife in her hand right now, Qin Hanyue would already have lost his head. "What are you doing?" Qiao Ying asked coldly. "Let's go to bed," Qin Hanyue said gently. Their eyes met. After a while, Qiao Ying closed her eyes and didn't say anything else. Qin Hanyue carried her to the bed and tucked her in with the quilt. It was already dark outside, so Qin Hanyue also turned off the lights in the bedroom. After doing all this, he didn't leave, but just stood there by the bedside. He saw that Qiao Ying had rolled over to face inward and continued sleeping. Qin Hanyue's features were blurred in the darkness, making it impossible to see his expression. The girl had calmed down quickly just now, but the keen Qin Hanyue still captured that flash of chilling, killing intent in her eyes. At that moment, the aura of the person in his arms had completely changed. If Yi Ceci were here, he would definitely have had an intense reaction to this familiar aura. Meeting Qiao Ying's icy eyes, Qin Hanyue's heart chilled. It was really bizarre for such eyes to appear on an 18 or 19-year-old girl. Those desperate criminals who licked blood with knives all year round in Continent M probably didn't even have her ruthlessness. At this moment, the leaders of top universities across the country were excitedly looking up scores in advance through internal channels ever since the afternoon. In a certain 985 university, the school leaders hurriedly looked up scores with quick fingers. Let the admissions office contact these 2 students first, and try to get these 2 to come to our school as well. I didn't expect the exam papers to be so difficult this year, with quite a few scoring 148 in math. As the leaders picked out students, suddenly a perfect math score of 150 caught everyone's eyes. There's someone here with a perfect math score, and the English is also. What's going on with the Chinese? Such a severe imbalance of subjects? Let me see what was deducted. The teacher pushed up his glasses and clicked in to take a look. After a moment, he stood up excitedly, pointing at the computer screen, and shouted, "Go to this family first." The next day at noon, Qiao Ying returned to her room after lunch. She glanced at her phone, which she hadn't touched all morning, on the sofa. She picked it up and saw that it was out of battery. After plugging it in to charge, she turned it on and saw countless missed calls from all over the country, from admissions offices. Her brother Qiao Yi's call was drowned among them. Just as Qiao Ying was about to call Qiao Yi back, he called first. "Sis, a lot of people have come to our house. What score did you get?" Even through the screen, Qiao Ying could feel Qiao Yi was trying his best to restrain his excitement. Qiao Ying, oh right, I haven't checked yet. Qiao Yi, on such an important day, she could actually forget. Probably only his sister in the whole world would do that. Let me check. Qiao Ying sat down on the sofa and reached out to take the laptop provided by the hotel on the table. Under Qiao Yi's urging, Qiao Ying entered her exam registration number. What did you get? Qiao Yi asked anxiously. He probably wouldn't be this nervous and excited, even on the day his own high school entrance exam results came out. Since Qiao Ying didn't write the essay, Qiao Yi didn't expect her to get into Peking University without the essay. But so many admissions officers had come to their home early in the morning, all from top 50 universities in the country. He was really curious what score Qiao Ying had gotten. But Qiao Ying said, "Can't find it." Qiao Yi, why can't you find it? Internet problem. Qiao Ying looked at the computer screen and slowly said, "The top 50 scores in the province are not released yet. We'll know in a few days." Top 50? Qiao Yi exclaimed in surprise. He turned to look at the admissions officers in the yard, all crowding around Father Qiao, each showing off their skills. No wonder they didn't say how many points you got. With 7 or 8 cars parked at the door, neighbors had come out of their houses one after another to watch the lively scene, saying the Qiao family had a zhuangyuan. The gossiping elderly men and women even crowded right up to the door to watch, asking Qiao Yi if these schools had come to recruit him, and how many points he had scored. Some said they had come to recruit Qiao Lingling. Anyway, no one mentioned Qiao Ying. Their impression was that Qiao Ying hunched over with her hair covering her eyes, half dead all day, not at all like someone who would study. "It's my big sister who got in," Qiao Yi said and immediately walked away holding his phone. "The exam papers were so difficult this year. I see online many people didn't do well, especially in math and Chinese. Sis, without even writing the essay, you made the top 50 in the province. Is it possible you'd still get into Peking University with priority admission, even if you didn't meet the cutoff score?" Qiao Ying on the other end said, "Got it now." "What?" Qiao Yi vaguely heard the sound of typing on a keyboard and realized something. "Sis, don't tell me you." Sure enough, he heard Qiao Ying say, "I hacked the official website of Yuncheng Examinations Bureau." Qiao Yi, was that okay? Just as he was about to say, more cars arrived. He turned to look and wanted to see which school it was this time. When he saw the big words on the car, Qiao Yi's eyes widened. He dazedly said to Qiao Ying, "Sis, no need to check. Peking University cars are here. 2 of them." Following behind was an expensive Bentley, unlike a car admissions office could afford, but it did have the Peking University name on it. At the same time, Qiao Ying said, "Sent you a screenshot." An amiable, kind old man got out of the back seat of the Bentley, assisted by the driver from the same car. Qiao Yi heard the Peking University admissions staff call the old man president. The president of Peking University? Qiao Yi looked at the Peking University people, almost unconsciously tapping open WeChat. When he saw the score Qiao Ying had sent, Qiao Yi first fell silent for a moment, then sucked in a breath of cold air. Math, 150, full mark. English, 150, full mark. Chemistry, 100, full mark. Physics, 110, full mark. Biology, 90, full mark. And Chinese, 90. Ranked 12th in the province. Qiao Yi stood there holding his phone, unable to recover for a long time. Full mark 750. Without writing the essay, directly deducting 60 points, she had gotten a perfect score of 690. Except for the essay, she had answered every question correctly in every subject, including Chinese. No wonder these admissions officers had come so quickly and were almost ferocious in their pursuit of Qiao Ying. Even if it was the provincial champion's score, it probably wasn't as outstanding as Qiao Ying's. How on earth did she achieve this? Hurry up, can't fall too far behind them. Zhang Chengyong led a group of people striding into the Chao's yard. They couldn't wait to see Qiao Ying anymore. Seeing more people arrive, the admissions officers thought, which stubborn guy had come to compete with them again? Taking a closer look, it's Peking University's. The Peking University president actually came in person. The bustling yard gradually quieted down. The Peking University president coming for recruitment in person. This was probably the only case so far, right? Qiao Lingling silently stood in the doorway of her room, watching those admissions officers sing Qiao Ying's praises, offering various tempting conditions. Qiao Lingling's mind had already been clouded by jealousy. Suddenly hearing someone yell the Peking University president was here. Qiao Lingling was jolted back to her senses. She saw Zhang Chengyong appear, assisted by a young assistant. Qiao Lingling's mind went blank, and looking again at Qiao Yi by the door, she immediately realized what was happening and anxiously pulled her mother into the room. Locking the door. Why did you pull me in? Didn't you see the Peking University president is here? Why aren't you going out quickly to pour President Zhang a cup of tea, and let the neighbors on both sides see clearly? Oh my, I really didn't expect that after suffering my whole life, I, Li Lilian, would have this fortune in the end, with both daughters getting into Peking University. All morning, Li Lilian had smiled until her face hurt. I really looked down on that dead girl before. She actually scored so well. This time I have to set out a table of good food to properly treat that bunch of blind in-laws of yours who looked down on me, Li Lilian, and see who still dares to scorn me. The conditions offered by those schools are so good. I wonder what conditions Peking University will offer. They must give a lot of gifts. Will they give 2 houses? Lilian talked to herself, about to go out and have a good chat with President Zhang. But she was firmly grabbed by her daughter. Mom, don't go out. Why not go out? Didn't you hear Principal Zhang is here? Why do you look like you've seen a ghost? What's wrong? Li Lilian touched her daughter's forehead. It was ice cold. She then patted the back of her daughter's hand. Bear with it if you're not feeling well. I'll take you to the hospital later. Go out and make Principal Zhang a cup of tea first. Ah, Mom? Qiao Lingling was anxious and blocked the door with her hands. Although Li Lilian did not have much education, she was clever. Connecting the dots of everything that had happened, she sensed the problem and dropped her smile. She asked, "What's the deal with your guaranteed admission?" Qiao Yi looked at her second sister Qiao Lingling's suddenly shut door and recalled that Qiao Lingling had never said how many points she scored on the exam. When Lingling Qiao found out that she had gotten into Peking University on a recommendation by cheating on Ying Qiao's test questions, Lilian Li almost fainted on the spot. You dead girl. You don't have the diamond but want the porcelain. Mom thought you really had some skills. You will still be exposed when you go to Peking University like this. Lilian Li was so anxious that she kept slapping her thighs. She was uneducated, but she also knew that since Lingling Qiao got into Peking University by relying on a set of test questions, she would be doing problems for Peking University in the future. What if she couldn't do them in the future? I don't care. I just want to go to Peking University. There was a reckless madness in Lingling Qiao's eyes. She grabbed her mother's hand. You can't let Ying Qiao, Yi Qiao, and Dad know about this, especially Ying Qiao. She won't let me go. Lilian Li. Ying Qiao's side is not a problem, but what about Peking University's side? Take it one step at a time. As long as Ying Qiao doesn't know, I will bite to death that the questions are done by me, so Peking University won't doubt it. Mom, help me, or I'll be finished. Lingling Qiao looked at her mother eagerly, as if looking at a life-saving straw. Lilian Li's mind was much more meticulous than Lingling Qiao's. She patted her daughter's hand and gave her daughter a reassurance. Mom will help you. If exposed, all the benefits that Peking University had promised to Lingling Qiao would be gone. She, Lilian Li, would become a laughingstock in front of relatives and friends, let alone her daughter Lingling Qiao's future would be gone too. Lilian Li would never allow this to happen. When Qiao's father heard that it was the president of Peking University, he was both shocked and delighted, and was so excited that he didn't know where to put his hands and feet, and couldn't even speak properly. He hurriedly wiped his hands on his body, and respectfully shook hands with the president of Peking University. He had never thought that he would be able to shake hands with the president of Peking University in this life. Then he turned around and wanted to call out Lingling Qiao and his wife to entertain the guest, but found that both of them were nowhere to be found, so he called Yi Qiao in from the door. Where is student Ying Qiao? My old man came from Beijing before dawn today, just to see student Qiao. Zhang Chengyong said, looking around for Ying Qiao's figure. Yi Qiao, my sister went on a long trip. Maybe she'll be back when school starts. When Zhang Chengyong heard this, he was very disappointed. President Zhang, how did you come here in person? This is the first time I've seen you recruit students in person. Everyone from the admissions office was very curious. The test papers were indeed difficult this year, but even if this student got a perfect score of 750, it was a rare case and didn't warrant the president of Peking University to come in person. Last month, my old man had his old illness relapse and almost died in the street, thanks to student Qiao's help in saving him. Today I came here not only to welcome student Qiao on behalf of Peking University, but also to express my personal gratitude for student Qiao's life-saving grace. Not only did my old man come, but the vice president of our Peking University, the dean of the Peking University Medical School, will come later. Zhang Chengyong stated his determination, hoping that these admissions staff would know the difficulty and retreat. The admissions staff had not expected that Qiao Ying already knew the president of Peking University privately, and had such a relationship. Qiao's father hadn't had time to digest the news that Qiao Ying's score was even more outstanding than the provincial champion when he heard that Qiao Ying had saved the life of the president of Peking University. Medical school? This student got full marks in mathematics, physics, and chemistry. Wouldn't it be a waste to go to medical school? One of the admissions staff felt it was a waste. You don't know anything. Zhang Chengyong directly waved his hand. Let me tell you, student Qiao told me personally that she applied for Peking University. President Zhang, the person isn't even here yet. How can you? Unfounded claims. You don't believe it? Seeing that they didn't believe it, Zhang Chengyong turned and asked Qiao father and son. Yi Qiao told the truth. My sister did say she wanted to go to Peking University. Zhang Chengyong, did you hear that? She can change her choice. They were still unwilling to give up. President Zhang, we all respect you, but for this enrollment, let's each rely on our own abilities, okay? Fine, so you don't say I bullied you guys. But let me remind you, as long as student Qiao agrees to enter our Peking University Medical School, I will personally give her a house, and she can choose any location in Beijing. When Zhang Chengyong said this, everyone present, including Lilian Li and Lingling Qiao, who were eavesdropping by the door, stared wide-eyed in shock. A house in Beijing? Pick any location? That would easily be 30 to 40 million. This was too arrogant. The admissions staff were shocked and then chilled by half. With just this house, what could they use to compete with Peking University? In a moment, 3 or 4 families left. Zhang Chengyong nodded in satisfaction, unhurriedly asked Yi Qiao for Ying Qiao's phone number. Unfortunately, she couldn't get through. Qin Hanyue had just returned to the hotel on this side and was still downstairs when he received a call from Zhang Chengyong. Guess where I am? You seem to be in a good mood today. Zhang Chengyong smiled. Do you still remember the little girl who saved me last time? I'm at her home now. He was waiting for the dean of the medical school at Qiao's house. Qin Hanyue's eyebrows lifted slightly. Do you know how many points she scored on the college entrance examination? How much? 690, ranked 12th in the province for science. Not bad, Qin Hanyue said. No, do you know why she only got 690? What do you mean? Qin Hanyue entered the elevator. She didn't write the essay in Chinese. Zhang Chengyong's tone was full of pleasant surprise. That meant full marks except for the Chinese essay. Hearing this score, Qin Hanyue was not too surprised either. It was something she could do. Zhang Chengyong, old man, I really don't know who to share this with, so I can only call and tell you, since only you and I have seen the little girl, you must be able to understand my mood. As the elevator door opened, Qin Hanyue took out the room card. Zhang Chengyong on the phone continued. Unfortunately, I came in vain. The girl has gone on a long trip, and I can't reach her on the phone either. Qin Hanyue, who entered the room, looked at the girl holding a laptop on the sofa, walked over and sat down on the other side of the sofa. He said to Zhang Chengyong on the other end, "She's with me." Zhang Chengyong was startled. What did you say? Qin Hanyue, she's next to me. Do you want to talk to her? Ying Chao raised her eyes from the computer screen to the man's face next to her. Was he talking about her? Then she saw Qin Hanyue put the phone in front of her, turn on the speakerphone, and say to her with a smile that was not a smile, "Miss Kiao, President Zheng is looking for you." Ying Chao, who had just intercepted a bunch of calls from the admissions office, first looked at the phone and then raised her eyes and glared at Qin Hanyue. Zhang Chengyong's uncertain inquiry came from the phone. "Student Chao." Ying Chao retracted her gaze and looked back at the computer screen, answering, "President Zhang, do you need anything?" "It really is you," Zhang Chengyong exclaimed with pleasant surprise. Zhang Chengyong happily said a bunch of congratulations, praises and small talk, and finally couldn't hold back. He asked, "Student Kiao, can you tell me why you didn't write the Chinese essay? Is there any reason?" Except for the last essay, Kiao Ying also got full marks on the previous questions, so it was impossible that she didn't know how to write. It was also impossible that she ran out of time. Sure enough, Kiao Ying said indifferently, "690 is enough to get into Peking University." Upon hearing this, a smile spread across Qin Hanyue's mouth. He actually felt as expected of her. Zhang Chengyong didn't fear Chao Ying scoring perfect marks. He feared Chao Ying being able to control the scores. Upon hearing this answer, Zhang Chengyong was stunned for a moment, then laughed out loud, "Old man, I just like your personality." If it were someone else, Zhang Chengyong would have poked at their forehead with his finger and lectured, arrogant, presumptuous, recklessly bold. But this was Kiao Ying. She had the credentials. Hearing Zhang Chengyong say he would give her a house, Chao Ying didn't refuse either. She would be staying in the capital city for at least 4 years. Having a house would make it convenient for her to take care of things. Not to mention this was what she deserved. But hearing he wanted her to enter the medical school, Kiao Ying refused. Zhang Chengyong told her to consider it slowly. No rush, whether she entered the medical school or not, he would still give her the house. In addition, Zhang Chengyong also made a generous offer on behalf of Capital University, up to 1 million in scholarships. After agreeing with Kiao Ying to meet at the start of the semester, Zhang Chengyong deliberately turned on the speakerphone, and so the entire admissions office courtyard heard it. The admissions staff secretly found it absurd, while Zhang Chengyong was self-satisfied. Kiao Ying tapped on the keyboard, tilted her neck. Zhang Chengyong was still talking. Kiao Ying was getting a little impatient. So she couldn't help but shoot Qin Hanyue another glare for being nosy. After Zhang Chengyong spoke for more than 10 minutes, he finally finished speaking. After hanging up the call, Zhang Chengyong felt like he had forgotten something. After a while, he remembered that in his excitement earlier, he had left out one important point. Wasn't Chao Ying going away? How come she was with Qin Hanyue? Qin Hanyue put away his phone. "Congratulations, Kiao. Little junior sister." Chao Ying scoffed softly. "Thank you." Qin Hanyue, is she scoffing at him? Kiao Ying then looked back at him and retorted, "Qin, old senior brother." Qin Hanyue. Qin Hanyue heard it like a stab to his heart. He could only smile helplessly, thinking to himself not to care about petty things with a little girl. Seeing Chao Ying kept tapping on the keyboard, Qin Hanyue looked at her, seemingly having thought of something. After a while, he stood up. Walking over for a look, it was Candy Crush? Qin Hanyue said, "Miss Kiao has been feeling unwell these past few days. I've asked someone to prepare a few sets of clean clothes for Miss Kiao. They'll be delivered soon." He didn't dare call her junior sister anymore. "Mr. Qin is too kind. Just a small thing." After Qin Hanyue went into the bedroom, Chao Ying switched screens. Candy Crush disappeared, and what appeared on the screen were majestic, grand buildings. In the extravagantly decorated hall, black-clad bodyguards could be seen everywhere. It was none other than the Gods Armed Alliance headquarters. 2 hours ago, right in this hall, Kiao Ying had watched the conversation between Qin Hanyue and his men from start to finish. A few days later, Kiao Ying's results were made public. These past few days, batches and batches of admissions officers had come to the Chao family residence. Cars filled the yard every day, They had just about worn the doorstep through. This news quickly spread. Hearing that the president of Capital University had come personally to recruit students, local reporters caught wind of it. Honest Father Kiao was forced in front of the camera several times. Scoring high marks wasn't rare. There were candidates every year. What was rare was the president and vice president of Capital University coming in person. The president of Capital University had even offered a villa worth tens of millions to poach her. What was rare was that the language arts essay of this student, who had Capital University going to such great lengths to recruit, was completely blank. Even the most learning-averse student who slacked off would scribble a few sentences for extra points. Those completely unable to write would at least write a title and get lucky with a few points for emotion. But she had left it completely blank from start to finish. Most rare of all was that this student had scored 690 high marks without writing the language arts essay. She was ranked 12th in the province for science. She was the only one in the province with perfect scores for both mathematics and integrated science. She was also the only one nationwide with perfect scores for mathematics, integrated science, and English on test paper A. The mayor of Yuncheng Feng Teng, the principal of No. 7 High School, and various school leaders had come to congratulate her with prizes. The entire Yuncheng city knew about a girl called Qiao Ying from No. 7 High School. With this limelight, not to mention being the provincial top scorer, even the national top scorers from previous years, none had a tenth of the attention she was getting. And those netizens who had previously criticized the video of Qiao Ying being interviewed at the school gate after the Gaokao now all shut their mouths. Feng Wenzhong squatted outside the Qiao residence gate, looking back at the yard full of people, her father, the No. 7 high school leadership, reporters, and all sorts of relations of the Qiao family. He was puzzled, asking Qiao Yi, who had also come out for air. "Can you tell me, how did your sister get 690 marks in the Gaokao when she barely made any effort in high school? She didn't even write the essay. That's basically a perfect score." Qiao Yi hadn't wanted to bother with him, but thinking about it still said, "My sister isn't really brainless." Feng Wenzhong was stunned. "What do you mean? Qiao Ying wasn't really brainless. He was really brainless?" There were 2 days left of the gladiator competition. Is Miss Qiao going to the arena to watch today? These past few days Qiao Ying had been feeling unwell. Qin Hanyue, who had said he would take her to watch the gladiator competition, didn't bring it up. Considering the timing, looking at Qiao Ying's condition, her period should have ended today. Qiao Ying didn't even lift her head. "Tomorrow." Qin Hanyue nodded, not saying anything else. The next day, after dinner, Qin Hanyue and his entourage left the hotel. They appeared at the arena 10 minutes before the start of the gladiator competition. On the final day, there were far more people than any of the previous days. As soon as Qin Hanyue's group appeared, they instantly attracted the attention of most people, especially Qiao Ying among them. On the first day, no small number of people had seen this Chinese girl walking with the Blackwater mercenary group. There were even some who had tried to beat Qiao Ying to a pulp when robbing Blackwater's goods. How come today she was walking together with this bunch who looked like businessmen? Those useless bums at Blackwater must have been too disappointing, so the little girl switched to embrace someone else instead. "I heard her skills are pretty good, if she's willing. My Raging Fire mercenary group welcomes her wholeheartedly." "You're just hoping to make her your group leader's wife. What sort of riffraff and scoundrels want to jump out and claim to be the second coming of Nameless? Relying on an unweaned little girl who still smells of milk. How dare she pretend to match up to him?" Feeling those sharp gazes nailing them, Qin Yan walked 2 steps forward to remind Qiao Ying, "Miss Qiao, the people here aren't good people. Be careful not to get separated from us. Also, this gladiator competition is really different from beast fights in ancient Rome. Please be mentally prepared." Qin Yan thought to himself, "Are girls these days all so bold? Such a pretty young lady actually likes watching this kind of stuff." What was the boss thinking? The little girl doesn't know what goes on inside. How could he not know? Yet he actually brought a young lady to watch such bloody, violent stuff. Won't she get nightmares and psychological trauma after this? And the way these people are looking at her, Seems like they want to swallow Qiao Ying whole. Qin Yan was really worried that something would happen because of Qiao Ying later. The group arrived on the second level. Bai Xiao and the others also followed to the second level, standing about 10-odd meters away from Qiao Ying and the others. She said she wasn't close with that bunch. Has she been with them these few days? Seeing Qiao Ying standing together with Qin Hanyue, Sak was inexplicably angry. Didn't she say our boss entrusted us to her? Now she's ignoring us. What's that about? Badaman jokingly said, "You're not a child. As long as you can take care of yourself, who cares if you're eating, sleeping, going to the toilet?" Regardless of Qiao Ying's background, whether she really knew their boss or not, Badaman sincerely admired Qiao Ying's skills. Qin Yan noticed Bai Xiao and the others, lowering his voice to tell Qin Hanyue Bai Xiao from Blackwater fought with Hurricane's men the other day. Bai Xiao barely won. Following his lead, Qin Hanyue looked over. Qin Yan continued, "These past few days I've had people keeping an eye on things here. Strangely, that woman who just joined Blackwater hasn't appeared at all." Qin Yan was especially curious about that woman who dared to think she could match up to Nameless. He really wanted to see what she looked like, to actually dare compare herself to Nameless. If it wasn't for Nameless bombing their God's Armed Alliance headquarters, Qin Yan would even take Nameless and X, who was ranked first on the hacker board, as idols. Hearing this, Qin Hanyue lowered his eyes, looking at the girl beside him. Seeing the girl didn't seem to have noticed Bai Xiao and the others. Right after Qin Hanyue retracted his gaze, Qiao Ying's eyes shifted to look at Bai Xiao and them. "She saw us. Should we go over?" Seeing Qiao Ying with that bunch dressed like fops, Sak was quite curious. Seeing Qiao Ying withdraw her gaze and stop looking at them, Bai Xiao stopped Sak, who wanted to go over, and said, "Don't rush it. The fighting competition would start on time." On the last day, everyone's emotions were noticeably heightened. Below, yesterday's winner appeared in the fighting ring, moving his arms and looking around arrogantly at the spectators in the stands above him. He revealed a provocative and contemptuous expression, as if wanting to see who dared to come down and challenge him. Bai Xiao instinctively looked at Qiao Ying, wondering if Qiao Ying would go down to fight, but saw that Qiao Ying had the same spectator attitude as everyone else. Bai Xiao then looked around and saw that everyone else was holding their positions. It was unclear whether they didn't dare or were choosing to wait and see for the time being. The previous day's winner was a thick-lipped black man. After waiting for half a day without anyone daring to challenge him, he became extremely arrogant, even giving them the middle finger. At this moment, a mercenary went down amidst the cheering of the crowd. "It's John," Sak said in astonishment as he looked at the blond, blue-eyed white man who went to fight. "Is he crazy?" Sak grabbed the railing with both hands. Emotionally agitated, "He's no match for that guy at all. He's going to get himself killed." Seeing this, Bai Xiao and the others also looked worried. John had been one of their Blackwater mercenaries before leaving Blackwater for another mercenary group for various reasons. The eyes of the entire audience were focused on the two men in the fighting ring. The blond, blue-eyed white man was very cautious, not daring to make a move rashly, but carefully defending instead. The black mercenary looked at his opponent contemptuously, then suddenly attacked, smashing his fist straight at his opponent's face with extreme speed. The white mercenary narrowly dodged it, but didn't expect to be tricked by the other's feint as his abdomen was promptly struck by a heavy blow. The two were clearly unmatched in strength, and the black mercenary's fists rained down like hailstones, almost overwhelmingly beating the white mercenary until he was unable to fight back. Punch after punch, each blow landed squarely on target. The sound of bones breaking could be heard clearly. The black mercenary was extremely vicious, punching only at his opponent's face. After taking a few punches, John's originally handsome face was beaten beyond recognition, covered in blood. The black mercenary's mercenary group had a very poor reputation. Now that the black man was also taunting everyone, the scene made many onlookers burn with righteous indignation. Damn it. Sak grabbed the railing tightly, the veins on the back of his hands bulging. Is no one going to stop him from beating a man to death? Qiao Ying leaned on the railing, watching the scene below, and suddenly spoke up. Hearing this, Qin Hanyue glanced at her. After a moment of silence, he replied, "It's life and death in the fighting ring. No one can interfere or be held responsible." But it was rare for someone to be beaten to death. For these desperados who relied on their abilities to make a living, more than taking their opponent's life, they preferred to turn them into useless cripples, unless they had a personal grudge, and the black mercenary below was clearly going for the kill. Of course, Qiao Ying knew the rules. She was deliberately asking Qin Hanyue this. Qiao Ying didn't respond, but changed the subject and suddenly asked, "It's the last day. Isn't the god armament going to show off? You have so many elites, it'd be a waste not to use them, right?" Hearing this, Qin Hanyue's pupils suddenly shrank. The girl who had been watching the scene below also turned to look at him at this moment, with a seemingly smiling but not smiling expression. Their eyes met. Qin Hanyue's expression remained calm and unmoved as he said, "Out of fairness, we can't participate." "What a pity," Qiao Ying said. Qin Hanyue stared at her and asked, "When did you find out?" He should have asked when she confirmed his identity. Qiao Ying curled her lips into a smirk and casually said, "I forgot to tell Mr. Qin that I can speak Hilligarian quite well too." It must have been when they met Isis. In other words, she had heard his entire conversation with Isis. Qin Hanyue's initial guess was right. Qiao Ying had approached him to find out his identity. And Qin Hanyue also had a sense of Qiao Ying's identity. Qiao Ying no longer pretended with him. The odds will be huge for the next few matches. As she spoke, she looked down again. John was lying on the ground, held by the collar as the black mercenary kept pounding him. The atmosphere in John's mercenary group was extremely low, while the black man's mercenary group cheered excitedly. Many mercenaries watching just for fun were shouting for John to get up and keep fighting. "I've had quite a few drinks on Mr. Qin these days, and the hotel isn't cheap either. I know Mr. Qin isn't short on money, but I don't like owing people. Remember to place your bets, Mr. Qin." Qiao Ying spoke faster and faster until she finished speaking. Without waiting for Qin Hanyue's reaction, she pushed off the railing with one hand and leapt down directly from the second floor. The black man grinned hideously as his enormous fist was about to smash John's nose. With this punch, whether John died or not, his face would be ruined. Sack could no longer sit still and wanted to go down to save him, but was pressed down by the shoulder by Bai Xiao, who then said, "I'll go." Bai Xiao had just fought Hurricane, who came to provoke them in front of their tent the day before yesterday. Although Bai Xiao had won, he was badly injured. Bardaman wanted to say that he would go, but before he could speak, and before Bai Xiao could make a move, they saw a petite figure leap down from the second floor. Landing nimbly on the ground, she took a quick step forward at a speed so fast it was almost impossible to catch, astonishingly swift. The black man grinned hideously as his enormous fist was about to smash into John's face. A fair and delicate hand appeared out of nowhere, accurately grasping the black man's wrist. The black man's wrists were thick and made her hands seem far too petite, but unimaginably, she easily stopped the punch. The fist halted right before John's nose, unable to move forward even half an inch. Qin Yan had been watching the fight attentively, frowning, feeling sorry for John's situation, when he suddenly saw a figure leap down. Qin Yan was badly startled, and was about to yell, "Miss Chow fell down," to inform his master. But before he could yell it out, he saw this bizarre scene. "She caught it," Qin Yan said in disbelief, stunned. The black man frowned. Before he could see who was brave enough to jump out and stand up for someone, a fierce punch whipped toward her. With one hand clutching the black man's wrist, stopping his punch, Qiao Ying raised her other arm and backhanded toward the black man's face. Sensing her speed, the black man immediately dodged backward, forced to withdraw his fist. He swiftly got up and retreated several steps. The black man reacted quickly with extremely fast speed, but his nose was still hit, instantly sending a burst of pain straight to his brain, bringing tears to his eyes. Everyone didn't see clearly what had happened. They just saw the black man retreat. The black man's face contorted fiercely, his entire body instantaneously erupting with a surge of killing intent. Looking up, When he saw his opponent was just a little girl, the black man's expression was ugly at first. Recalling who this girl was, he then sneered disdainfully. Qiao Ying stood up, glanced at John on the ground, then shouted up, "Little Sack, come down and help him." Sack snapped back to his senses and immediately jumped down to support the now immobile John. He took a look at Qiao Ying standing with her back to him before withdrawing his complex feelings and focusing on the task at hand. He carried John away. After Sack and the others left, Qiao Ying finally looked at the black man across from her and said in fluent English, "There's a saying in Hua country, quit while you're ahead. It's that woman from the Blackwater mercenary group." "You mean her? I don't care how amazing those guys boast she is. She looks like just an ordinary person to me. I thought Nameless had really come back. Turns out it's just a knockoff." She dares to compare herself to Nameless. I can't believe Blackwater actually sent out a wet behind-the-ears little girl. They must be desperate if this is all they have left. It's laughable. How does Blackwater attract so many women? What do they have that we don't? How come no beautiful women are throwing themselves at us? Right? Nameless was gorgeous, like a fox spirit, and her skills were unmatched. Now there's another one. Don't underestimate her. Her skills exceed even Bai Xiao's. Buddy, you've got trauma from Nameless. Take a good look at that little girl down there. That's not Nameless. Hey man, that petite Chinese girl's skin looks so soft and tender. Take it easy on her. I'd feel bad if you beat her to death. Haha, the black mercenary's companion guffawed loudly. Qiao Ying had walked right into a den of wolves. The men who had tried to steal Blackwater's cargo and nearly died at Qiao Ying's hands earlier now kept silent. They had crossed hands with Qiao Ying before and witnessed her terrifying abilities firsthand, so they knew she was far more formidable than they could have imagined. The black mercenary stared at Qiao Ying like she was his prey. He slowly raised his fist, still dripping with John's blood, to his mouth and licked it. Then he spat on the ground and smiled mockingly. "Little girl, this isn't a place for you to play house. Unless you want to end up like that useless trash, you better run home to Mama." The black man sneered lecherously. "Or better yet, don't go home. Come warm Big Brother's bed tonight." His lustful gaze crawled over the girl's body as he licked his lips vulgarly, mentally undressing her. It was revolting. Ha ha ha. Hey man, show her what you're made of and throw her over your shoulder straight to the bedroom. The other mercenaries yelled, eliciting raucous laughter from the crowd. Qin Hanyue's eyes narrowed dangerously. His threatening gaze swept over the black man, driven mad by lust first, then the rest of his companions. One mercenary sensed an icy killing intent and warily looked around, but didn't notice anything amiss. Qiao Ying's expression was cold as ice. "You're asking for death." No sooner had she finished speaking than Qiao Ying dashed forward. She leapt high into the air and came crashing down. One knee bent. The black man's expression changed. He quickly raised his arms to block. In the next instant, the tremendous force behind the girl's knee shocked his face pale. Her knee slammed into his blocking arms with the weight of 1,000 pounds. Both of his arms went numb instantly, the numb sensation spreading across his upper body. Unable to withstand the impact, the black man sank heavily to his knees. A stabbing pain shot through his legs. The black man's face twisted in agony. Suddenly, the pressure on his arms disappeared. Before he could react, a kick smashed into his throat. She was too fast. He couldn't even respond. The kneeling black man was sent flying by the kick, crashing into the wall behind him. His eyeballs bulged out as he slumped to the ground, coughing up a huge mouthful of blood. The black man had nearly destroyed John's face, and Qiao Ying had just crushed his vocal cords. It happened in the blink of an eye. The men who had been laughing and egging the black man on to have his way with Qiao Ying were still guffawing, utterly oblivious to what had transpired. Many present knew this black man's reputation. He was one of the best fighters in the entire M continent, having served with a famous mercenary group in country M relying on his abilities. He frequently bullied others. Yet now, he had just been crippled with 2 kicks from a young girl. The previously boisterous scene fell dead silent. Qin Yan's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. Qin Hanyue's mouth curved into a faint smirk. Qiao Ying stared coldly at the black man choking on his own blood. Trash. All bark and no bite. Sack, supporting John nearby, secretly swallowed hard. Qiao Ying raised her head to survey the silent crowd and spoke arrogantly. Who else wants to fight? No one responded. Qiao Ying's eyes darkened. No one dares to fight? Just then, a mercenary jumped out to break the tense atmosphere. He fixed his gaze on Qiao Ying, cracking his neck joints with loud pops. Qiao Ying simply stood still and watched him dispassionately. After limbering up, the mercenary slowly clenched his giant fists and charged at her with a roar. With a few large strides, he reached Qiao Ying and swung out his fist. But before he could land the punch, Qiao Ying whipped out her leg in a graceful knee strike that sent him flying backwards. He crashed heavily into the ground, eating dirt. Qiao Ying stated flatly, "Next." A few in the crowd couldn't help but gasp. They could justify away the black man's loss by claiming he wasn't prepared, and Qiao Ying had caught him off guard. But what about this guy? Another stubborn one jumped down for his turn. In his mind, no matter how good she was still just a little girl. Thin arms, thin legs. Even if she had trained from the womb, there was no way she could match up to professional mercenaries like them. The previous two must have let their guard down and gotten lucky against Qiao Ying by chance. Most present shared this mindset. She was just a girl, not some mythical three-headed, six-armed monster. Of course, Nameless was an exception. Unsurprisingly, Qiao Ying swiftly proved them wrong. The mercenary charged at the girl. She sidestepped smoothly and delivered a fatal punch to a vital artery in his neck. Her movements were fast, vicious, and precise, wasting no time. With that single punch, the mercenary collapsed, knocked out cold. Next. 1 minute later. Next. 2 minutes later. Next. 5 or 6 more continuously. One tried to ambush Qiao Ying while she was occupied. But she noticed him before he even got close. The mercenary immediately picked up speed, only to be met with a beautiful knee strike from Qiao Ying that sent him flying. He laid on the ground for a long time, retching and vomiting bile. An eerie silence descended on the scene several times as the men exchanged confused glances, the atmosphere growing increasingly bizarre. Clearly they had run out of excuses. Another stubborn mercenary was itching to have a go. Just as he was hesitating, the girl spotted him and looked over. Meeting her gaze, a chill went down his spine, and he instantly regretted it. But the girl merely glanced at him before shifting her attention to the head of his mercenary group. "You. Come on." Qiao Ying challenged. The mercenary leader's expression hardened. Everyone thought, isn't she getting a bit too arrogant? What Qiao Ying did next was even more arrogant. Her gaze roved over the crowd until she picked out another person. "You." She continued, you. Clearly she was singling out the leaders of each mercenary group. Growing impatient with how many there were, Qiao Ying declared, "Let's not waste time. Come at me together. I'm the Blackwater boss, so I'm qualified to fight you." She said she is what? Qin Yan could not help but ask Qin Hanyue next to him. His head was already insufficient. The boss of the Blackwater mercenaries? Isn't she just an ordinary high school graduate student from the small local Yun City Jiangxia district? How did she become the boss of the Blackwater mercenary group? Wait, which ordinary student can kick a mercenary at a time? Qin Yan looked at the girl below with an aura so powerful that it was daunting, and was shocked that his facial features were separated and explosive news came one after another. Qin Yan couldn't digest it anymore, and the whole person was a little sluggish at the moment. The whole scene was silent. Qiao Ying yelled impatiently, "Don't you dare fight? Is it contempt or afraid to lose to me as a woman and have no face to continue mixing on M continent?" She curled her lips slightly and sneered. "A few years ago, you were pressed to the ground by Nameless, and now you are still mixing well on M continent." Being so humiliated, the bosses of the mercenary groups finally couldn't sit still anymore, or more appropriately, rode a tiger and found it hard to get off. I saw them cursing silently, then jumping down one by one. The bosses of the major mercenary groups were all famous figures on the M-Continent ranking list, and their skills were naturally needless to say. Among them, there were even more who were formerly special forces. Take out any one of them, and they would have explosive combat power. And Qiao Ying was facing 35 of them at the moment. This was a complete elite special forces unit. Just the momentum and aura alone could frighten people. Finally dare to come down. Qiao Ying's expression was indifferent. The mercenary group bosses tried to find a trace of fear, regret, or tension in the girl's eyes, but none of them did, not even vigilance. What was there, on the other hand, was excitement. "Are you sure you want to take on all of us alone? Little girl, it's still too late to leave now. No one will laugh at you. Don't be impulsive and die here." "Qiao Ying, unfortunately, you won't have a chance to leave. This past year you guys suppressed Blackwater. It's time to settle this account. You will pay the price for your ignorance." Qiao Ying disdainfully said. "Don't forget that a few years ago you were pressed under the feet of me, this little girl, and couldn't get up. Is she going to take on 35 people alone? Is she crazy? How many did Nameless beat that year? 33. She has 2 more than Nameless. She wants to break Nameless's record? Isn't she looking to die? She must have used up a lot of stamina already. If each of these many people lands a punch on her, after 35 punches her stamina should be exhausted. Is it possible to fight 35 people alone?" Baiden was worried. Bai Xiao was equally anxious inside. Although he had guessed that Qiao Ying would not fight only 2 or 3 rounds, he did not expect that Qiao Ying would actually dare to challenge 35 mercenary group bosses at the same time. Qiao Ying's strength was indeed powerful, but fighting 35 people at the same time, 2 more than their former boss. These people's skills were much stronger than ordinary mercenaries. Bai Xiao wanted to go down and stop her, to tell Qiao Ying not to be arrogant. "Qin Yan, Third Master, why don't you come out and manage this? Fighting 35 people alone, she is going to her death." Not only did Qin Yan feel that Qiao Ying was being overly arrogant and going to her death, almost everyone present felt the same way. Fighting 35 people alone was simply impossible for one person to accomplish. Only Qin Hanyue remained silent, watching intently with arms crossed. The man bent his straight body, hands on the railing, staring at the bottom, not saying a word, only his gaze was intense like fire. In the huge coliseum, the mercenary group bosses surrounded the girl in the middle in an encircling posture, on the verge of fighting. There was more or less some enmity between these people, but at this moment, they were united with only one goal. They knew to win was undignified, but to lose. Nameless had made them a laughingstock before and also became their nightmare. Now, looking at Qiao Ying in front of them, who was similar to Nameless, and who arrogantly wanted to become a second Nameless to trample them under her feet, they had the same thought in their hearts: tear her to shreds. With a grudge against Nameless, their eyes on Qiao Ying grew more and more fierce, and their killing intent grew stronger. Finally, someone made a move. I saw a person shout loudly and take the lead in the attack. The momentum like a bursting dam, fists carrying fierce vigor smashing towards the girl. Qiao Ying struck out, easily catching the fist. Then, with lightning speed that was too fast to cover one's ears, she landed a blow and broke the opponent's arm. With only a crack sound, accompanied by a miserable scream. Almost at the same time, Qiao Ying kicked out and kicked away the person who had rushed up, dodging another person's attack, followed by a beautiful counterattack. Without any fancy moves, every punch and kick from Qiao Ying accurately landed on the opponent's vital points. The moves were fierce and carried vigor. They were standard special forces combat tactics, but even more lethal. The girl was seen stepping on another person's chest, using the momentum to leap up, and landing a knee strike directly on the opponent's temple. That petite figure moved freely through the crowd, her speed too fast for them to keep up with. Many times they didn't even see what happened clearly before the person was down. These moves made them feel an intense familiarity. In an instant, it evoked the memories of everyone, so they all crowded in to take a closer look with widened eyes. Finally, they saw clearly. I saw the girl use 2 fingers to hook the opponent's arm or shoulder blade, neck, and pinched hard, seemingly not much force, but it made the men scream in pain, losing fighting capability in an instant. This bizarre move made the people in the stands shocked and terrified. "Did you see her moves just now? They are exactly the same as Nameless's back then," someone shouted. Bai Xiao and the others' eyes were burning hot, especially Sack. No one in this world was clearer than Qiao Ying about human meridian points. 1, 2, 3, 4. Silhouettes fell down one after another. In just a few blinks, a large area was down. A few minutes later, the scene quieted down and the dust settled. Everyone looked and saw that the Colosseum, where dozens were just standing before, now only had the girl standing. At the girl's feet, the top faces of Continent lied down, those people either clutching their arms or curling up in pain on the ground. Qin Yan was stunned in place, at a complete loss for words. Dead silence. No one noticed that one person lying on the ground secretly pulled out a dagger from his clothes, then suddenly jumped up and stabbed towards the girl's back as she had her back facing him. This was the boss of Hurricane Mercenary Group. On the second floor, Qin Hanyue's expression changed. Before he could call out a warning, it was as if the girl grew eyes on her back. The hurricane boss only felt a flower in front of his eyes and stabbed at empty space. The next moment, the girl appeared at his side like a ghost. Then the dagger in his hand disappeared without a trace. In a flash of cold light, blood sprayed. She had actually cut the opponent's tendons. Everyone felt a pain in their wrists. The girl was too fast. So fast that the hurricane boss didn't even feel the pain at first, and it was only after a few seconds that the heart-wrenching scream erupted, making listeners' scalps tingle. Qiao Ying frowned slightly, then gently raised her hand to wipe away the blood splashed on her cheek. A blood print was left on the girl's fair cheek. The blood print was conspicuous, contrasting with the girl's icy cold eyes. On the arena, the leaders of the mercenary groups looked at the girl standing before them in horror. The nightmare from years ago was happening again. Qiao Ying slowly raised her eyes. "I'm the second Nameless. From today on, whoever dares to bully the Blackwater area again, acting recklessly in my territory, will end up like him." As her voice faded, the girl stretched out her hand, and the dagger in her hand flew out like a dart, nailing itself into the wall. Everyone looked closely and saw that the entire blade of the dagger was embedded in the wall, leaving only the hilt outside. This terrifying strength shocked everyone present. Qiao Ying said, "Everything that was taken from Blackwater this past year, give me back double. Don't wait for me to come looking." Qin Hanyue gently exhaled, his taut expression finally relaxing as a smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. Qin Hanyue stood up straight, clapped his hands together, then clapped again. The sound of applause broke the silence, attracting everyone's attention. Qiao Ying looked up to the second floor, their eyes meeting. The gladiator matches these past 2 years had been boring. Everyone thought today's final match would be no exception. Only some were waiting to see Blackwater make a fool of itself. But not tonight. Qiao Ying had appeared, and Blackwater didn't become a joke. Years ago, a Chinese girl became famous overnight at the Gladiator Arena. The name Nameless shocked everyone in the Continent. Almost the entire Continent had felt the terror of being controlled by Nameless. And today, another Chinese girl had shocked the entire arena again, making a name for herself in the Continent. The news quickly spread. On a certain private island, Chief, a young Chinese girl, appeared at the Continent's Gladiator tournament this year. Her skills are extremely similar to Blood Shadow from our organization who died. She made a name for herself in the same way Blood Shadow did back then. Blood Shadow was painstakingly nurtured by our Shadow organization. No one in this world deserves to be mentioned in the same breath as her. But not only is this girl very similar to Blood Shadow, she also claims to be the leader of Blackwater. Blackwater? That's right. The Blackwater Mercenary Group, one of the forces under Blood Shadow's control. No one knew that the genius killer Blood Shadow, who was covered in glory and admired by countless people, was in fact under the Shadow organization's monitoring and control every moment. After personally witnessing Blood Shadow's formidable strength time and time again, the Shadow organization knew they could no longer control Blood Shadow, so they reluctantly destroyed their proud creation. There's no such thing as so many coincidences in this world. Investigate her background thoroughly. I want to know if she has any relationship with Blood Shadow. Chief, could this person be an assassin secretly cultivated by Blood Shadow? If so, she would definitely want to avenge Blood Shadow. We have to take this seriously. Her rebuilding Blood Shadow's forces could be to oppose us. But this approach was a bit too high profile. The man called Chief said, if so, kill her directly. There's one more thing. She seems to have a special relationship with the Gods' armed alliance in the M continent. It might be tricky to make a move against her. 3 days later, Bai Xiao sat in the car, looking at the headquarters of the Gods' armed alliance appearing before his eyes, feeling complicated emotions. Qiao Ying's appearance gave them hope. Naturally, they were delighted. But Qiao Ying also reminded them of their previous leader, especially that day at the Gladiator Arena. They really saw their leader Nameless's shadow in Qiao Ying. Identical. Qiao Ying was perhaps even more formidable than their leader. But in their hearts, no one could replace Nameless. Qiao Ying had arrived before them. At the moment, she was sitting in one of the large halls of the Gods' Armed Alliance headquarters waiting for them. Miss Qiao really kept herself hidden. Qin Hanyue sat on the sofa, legs crossed, fingers interlocked over his lap. Qiao Ying leisurely replied, so did Mr. Qin. Qin Hanyue smiled. Far inferior to Miss Qiao. I'm just a businessman relying on money to recruit people. Miss Qiao is different. With your skills, no amount of money could buy or compare. He then added, since our identities are revealed, shouldn't we speak frankly? What does Mr. Qin want to know? Aside from touring, Miss Qiao must have other business in the M continent. Perhaps I could help. Indeed there is. Qin Hanyue's brows rose slightly. Qiao Ying said, to lose weight and train my body. Qiao Ying wasn't lying at all. One of her aims in coming to the M continent was to improve her physical fitness. Beside them, Qin Yan almost knelt down hearing this. You call going to the Gladiator Arena and killing left and right training your body? All right. You're impressive. Whatever you say goes. Qin Hanyue nodded slightly and smiled. Miss Qiao chose the declining Blackwater mercenary group. Could it be related to Nameless? I heard Nameless died. Real or fake? Did Miss Qiao know her? Mr. Qin is very interested in Nameless. I won't hide it from Miss Qiao. Nameless once blew up my God's Armed Alliance headquarters. The buildings furthest left were rebuilt once already. He actually investigated it. Qiao Ying's eyelids twitched uncontrollably, but she politely persuaded, the dead's debts are forgiven. Mr. Qin is generous. Why bother with a dead person? You're right, I just wanted to know why she was offended. Just curious about the reason. The reason? Should she say she simply had a fondness for blowing things up, happened to be bored then, and the Gods' Armed Alliance bothered her. So she did it on a whim. She had a habit of blowing things up. Mr. Qin need not overthink it. Blowing things up. Qin Hanyue recalled Isius base being blown up. Was this habit of blowing things up common? Or do young girls like such dangerous, violent things? It seems Miss Qiao knew her very well, quite well. Did Mr. Qin place a bet that day? Seeing Qiao Ying change the topic, Qin Hanyue cooperated. No. Then a subtle smile appeared in his eyes as he looked at Qiao Ying. That look seemed to say, so you still owe me. Mr. Qin has a large business, certainly not lacking this bit of money. It's true I don't lack money, so perhaps Miss Qiao could repay me in another way. Such as, Qin Hanyue stared at the girl, his gaze flashing, unknown what he was thinking. Before he could clarify, noise came from outside the door. It was Bai Xiao and the others. They came today for Blackwater's affairs. They wanted to acknowledge Qiao Ying as leader and rebuild Blackwater, needing the Gods' Armed Alliance's approval, just going through the formalities. Boss. Bai Xiao walked in and immediately called Qiao Ying that, used to calling Nameless boss, suddenly changing people. In his heart it still felt a little uncomfortable. You're here. Yet Qiao Ying was completely unbothered. After all, they were the same person. Bai Xiao and the others' gaze then shifted to Qin Hanyue sitting on the sofa, recognizing him as the man with Qiao Ying at the Gladiator tournament that day. Bai Xiao asked. This is? Qiao Ying looked at the man, smiling eyes casually saying, the God's Armed Alliance boss, your M-Continent's king. Bai Xiao and the others were shocked, looking at the man in surprise. The God's Armed Alliance boss was the most mysterious figure in the M-Continent, second to none. No one in the M-Continent should have seen his true face. Whenever they came to the God's Armed Alliance, they met his subordinates. For any matter in the M-Continent, his subordinates would be the ones to come out and resolve it. Some had tried investigating this person's background, but no one had provided any information. Some had even disappeared while investigating. They didn't expect to meet this legendary figure today. He was unexpectedly also Chinese, and so young. Most importantly, he seemed to have an intimate relationship with their current boss. Bai Xiao came back to his senses. Where's Sack? Not seeing Sack since the gladiator tournament. Sack went to erect a tombstone for your previous boss. Qiao Ying's eyelid twitched uncontrollably. Erecting a tombstone for me. Qin Hanyue's brow rose slightly as he looked at her. Qiao Ying waved her hand. All right, erect it. It's proper. Her tone a little helpless and speechless. Sack is the youngest in our team, and he has a different relationship with our previous boss, Bai Xiao said. What could Qiao Ying say? She nodded. I understand. She couldn't chat about this anymore. The more Qiao Ying talked, the more bizarre it became. She had to quickly change the subject. There's one thing I need to trouble Mr. Qin with. Please go ahead, Miss Qiao, said Qin Hanyue. Our previous Blackwater territory was taken, and even though they returned a couple days ago, I'm planning to find another place to rebuild. I was wondering if my men could stay at your God's army for a while, Qiao Ying asked. Qin Hanyue looked at Bai Xiao and the others, then generously agreed. Also, I see a nice spot next to God's army that would be suitable. We could become neighbors in the future and look out for each other. So I'd like to request that plot of land, said Qiao Ying. Qin Yan's eyes widened in surprise. You think so beautifully. Are you sure it would be mutual help instead of you taking advantage of us? She actually had this idea. Qin Hanyue just smiled without responding. Bai Xiao and the others looked at each other, only now realizing that Qiao Ying was finding them a protector. If they really stayed at God's army for a while, then built their base next to it afterwards, who on M-Continent would dare make trouble for Blackwater in the future? Qin Hanyue said, God's army has always appreciated talent, especially someone like Miss Qiao. Rather than being neighbors, why don't we take it a step further and become one family, sharing blessings and hardships together? What did he mean? Was he asking them to join God's army? Bai Xiao and the others immediately looked to Qiao Ying. For a mercenary group their size, being actively recruited by God's army was a dream come true. But Bai Xiao and the others were unwilling. They were all nameless, former unknown subordinates. They knew Nameless personality well. If they joined God's army, how could they face their deceased boss? Qiao Ying raised an eyebrow. That's not impossible. Bai Xiao's expression changed slightly. Just as he was about to say something, he heard Qiao Ying continue, But I'm used to being the boss. Mr. Qin, are you giving me the position of God's army's boss? In the end, Qin Hanyue gave the land next to God's army to Blackwater and cleared out a villa for Blackwater to stay in temporarily. He was also willing to provide manpower and resources to help them build their base. Once inside the villa, Qiao Ying said to Bai Xiao, Spread the word that Blackwater is recruiting. Those willing to join Blackwater, 50,000 Yal USD per month. Talented ones get $70,000. Personal commission starting at 6% per mission. This was far better terms than other mercenary groups. Bai Xiao asked, How many are you preparing to recruit? Qiao Ying made a name for herself at the gladiator competition. Blackwater's reputation surged again. Recruiting people was a piece of cake. Many of Blackwater's old subordinates had already caught wind and returned before the gladiator competition, and now they were about to become God's army's neighbor. Qiao Ying believed that all she had to do was put the word out, then sit back and pick people. The more the better. If you can recruit everyone on M-Continent, I'll greatly reward you, said Qiao Ying. That was impossible. God's army wouldn't allow it. Why do you need so many troops? Bai Xiao originally thought Qiao Ying was very similar to Nameless, their previous boss, in every way. But with Qiao Ying's sudden leap, she was now completely different from Nameless. Nameless was picky about everything, including his subordinates. He wanted quality over quantity. Qiao Ying was silent for a moment, then solemnly said, "What if I said I have a blood feud with Dark Shadow?" Bai Xiao was surprised. "You mean that Dark Shadow ranked first in the world among assassin organizations?" "Yes." Actually, if Qiao Ying just told Bai Xiao and the others that Nameless was killed by Dark Shadow, they would desperately avenge her even at the cost of their lives. But she didn't want them to die in vain for her. Whether they wanted to follow her or not was understandable. It was only human nature. If they parted on good terms, that was fine too. She needed power to confront Dark Shadow, but she wouldn't take advantage of Blackwater's feelings for Nameless. Although it couldn't be called taking advantage, since she was Nameless and Nameless was her. If we feared death, we wouldn't have come to M Continent. We'd have gone home to farm instead. Our previous boss Nameless once said, "Blackwater values brotherhood. Since you're already our boss, then your business is our business. Anyone who dares make a move against you is making a move against all of us," Bai Xiao said resolutely. The corners of Qiao Ying's elegant eyebrows raised slightly, imperceptibly. She used to say such bold and stirring words too. Qiao Ying said, "My actions at the gladiator competition may have caught Dark Shadow's attention, but they likely don't suspect much. Don't spread this matter for now, just be discreet. That's all." "All right," said Bai Xiao. Outside the door came the sound of an engine. Qin Yan got out of the car. "Miss Qiao, your car." "Going out?" Bai Xiao asked. "I'm going to find Sack." Qiao Ying waved her hand and left. Qiao Ying drove to a scenic forest. From far away she could see Sack sitting in front of a new gravestone. He had been missing for days. Qiao Ying lowered the car window and saw Sack completely immersed in grief. It was clearly a solemn and sad scene, yet Qiao Ying looked at it with amusement and helplessness. She got out of the car and walked over. On the ground were a few cups of wine. Sack, sitting on the ground, was mumbling to himself. "We Chinese finish mourning in just 3 days. That's enough time." Sack turned to look at the approaching Qiao Ying. "Qiao Ying said," cried. Sack frowned. "Only my previous boss and I knew this place. How did you know about it?" Sack was with a few veteran Blackwater mercenaries on a mission when they were ambushed by enemies. He was the only survivor of the team. If Nameless hadn't arrived in time, he wouldn't be alive today either. Nameless had rested here while carrying the seriously injured Sack on her back. Qiao Ying squatted down and looked at the gravestone, thinking to herself that it was good this brat didn't stick a black and white photo of her on it. That would be too creepy. "Not only am I skilled in fighting and could take on 35 opponents alone at the gladiator arena, your current boss, me, is also all-knowing. There are no secrets in Blackwater that I don't know about," Qiao Ying said to him. "Did my previous boss tell you?" Sack asked. Your current boss is me now," Qiao Ying corrected. "Hump," Sack snorted and turned his head away. "All right, it's getting late. Come back with me, kid. Don't wander around outside," said Qiao Ying as she stood up. "I'm 24. Sack was very emotional, finding Qiao Ying's pretense of maturity annoying. Qiao Ying tilted her head and looked at him. "If you don't come now, I'll tell Bai Xiao and the others how you wet the bed until you were 5. Sack swiftly looked back at her. "You? How do you know about that?" Sack's face grew hot. He had blurted that out when he was injured, and mumbling deliriously on Nameless' back. He regretted it to death when he sobered up the next day. Not even his late parents knew about that. "I just said, there are no Blackwater secrets that I don't know. Are you coming or not? If not, you can walk back yourself later." Sack stared at Qiao Ying for 2 seconds, then shot up abruptly. He lit 3 incense sticks from somewhere and handed the smoking incense to her. "I know your Hua country people have a tradition of offering incense to the deceased." Qiao Ying's eyes narrowed dangerously. She thought, "Kid, don't overdo it. The dead are the most important. Not to mention she was your senior. Offering incense to your senior is not too much, is it?" Sack said as he held out the incense stick closer to Qiao Ying. Qiao Ying. Qiao Ying wanted to curse. She took the incense stick, psyched herself up for 2 seconds, and under Sack's urging gaze, she bowed 3 times to her own gravestone. She must be the first and only person in this world who bowed to herself and offered incense at her own grave. This is really maddening. Only you would do this. If it was someone else, I would have blown up this gravestone and buried him in it. What did you say? Sack didn't hear clearly. Qiao Ying forcefully stuck the incense into the ground and gritted her teeth. Do I have to kowtow to her 3 times too? Does Huaguo have this tradition too? Sack was about to say, if so, it would be best if you do it. But he saw Qiao Ying stand up and walk away directly. Sack hurried to catch up and said fiercely, if you dare tell anyone about my bedwetting, I will— Little Sack, are you threatening your boss? Humph, Sack snorted, and after a while he took the initiative to say, you and my boss were very close? Then do you know her real name? No. What do you mean no? Even orphans who grew up in welfare homes have names given by the director. I asked Bai Xiao, in your Huaguo. No name means no name. She's dead. What's the point of knowing her name? To engrave it on her gravestone? Were you part of the funeral service in your previous life? Did engraving gravestones become an addiction? My point is to engrave her real name on it. As the two spoke, Sack arrived at the car and looked puzzled as he asked, how did you drive the God's Army's car? Not only that, we're staying at God's Army tonight too. Qiao Ying opened the car door and got in. Get in quickly. Young master, do we really not need to look into Miss Qiao's background? 3 days later, Qin Yan couldn't help but ask Qin Hanyue's opinion again. He wanted to say, aren't you really curious or find it odd? For a student in her teens, Miss Qiao has such terrifying skills. Qin Yan recalled the scene at the fighting ring that day and was at a temporary loss for words to describe it. It's too unscientific. Up until now, Qin Yan still felt it was unreal. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed it even if he was beaten to death. Also, I remember young Master Qin Yuqin investigated some basic information about Miss Qiao. She had never left Yun City since she was little, but that day I heard Miss Qiao's English was in standard American pronunciation. She should have stayed in Country M before. It was too suspicious. Just then, Qin Hanyue, who was standing on the second-floor corridor, saw a figure walk in at the door. He said, no rush. If she found out he was investigating her, she would definitely be unhappy, right? From the first time they met gazing at each other through the car window, Qin Hanyue felt that Qiao Ying was definitely not someone good-tempered. While Qin Hanyue was still hesitant about Qiao Ying's identity, the Dark Shadow had already investigated 3 generations of Qiao Ying's ancestors thoroughly. Leader, we've already looked into it. This Chinese girl named Qiao Ying has never left Yun City since she was little, and has never had any connection with our Blood Shadow organization at all. 3 generations of Qiao's family, including this one, are all ordinary people. There's nothing outstanding about this girl since she was little, until a certain day 3 months ago when she suddenly changed drastically, as if she was a different person. It's really suspicious, but we couldn't find anything. The man referred to as leader said, 3 months ago? That was when Blood Shadow died. That's right. We also found out something else. This girl is not Qiao's biological child, but from the Su family in Beijing. Qiao Ying went upstairs, intending to rest in her room, but bumped into Qin Hanyue in the corridor. The room was specially prepared for her by Qin Hanyue, and she didn't stay with Bai Xiao and the others. Of the entire God's Armed Alliance, Qin Hanyue's place was the quietest, so of course Qiao Ying had no reason not to stay there. Mr. Qin hasn't rested yet? Were you waiting for me? Miss Qiao is a guest. It's only right for me to wait a little. Mr. Qin is too polite. Qiao Ying then moved to open the door, with her hand already on the door handle. She heard the man suddenly say, the room is too big. If Miss Qiao is afraid to sleep alone, I'm very willing to accompany you. Qiao Ying's hand on the handle paused, and she turned to look at him with an insincere smile as she replied, is Mr. Qin addicted to sleeping on the sofa? If Miss Kiao needs it, forget the sofa. Even the floor is fine. Kiao Ying retracted her hand, turned around, leisurely leaned against the door with her arms crossed, and sized up the man with a subtle gaze. Qin Hanyue felt strangely uneasy under her ambiguous stare. Then he heard the girl ask, "Mr. Qin can't beat me, right? What does Miss Kiao mean?" Literally, Qin Hanyue thought of Kiao Ying's fierce scene kicking mercenaries one by one at the fighting ring and said, "I'm afraid there are few people in this world who are a match for Miss Kiao." Qiao Ying dropped her smile. "Then aren't you afraid I'll snap you in two?" Qin Hanyue laughed bitterly. Miss Kiao really knows how to joke. Mr. Qin is very good at joking too. After saying that, Qiao Ying went in and closed the door. To build a foothold, recruit troops and buy horses. Blackwater had a huge project with many things to do. Fortunately, Qiao Ying didn't need to worry about any of it. Qin Hanyue came out of the room and received a call from his nephew Qin Yuhen. "Third uncle, I've finished things here. I can set off for M Continent this afternoon." Upon hearing this, Qin Hanyue, who was upstairs in the corridor, looked down at the girl sitting on the sofa in the first-floor lobby and said to Qin Yuchen, who had already packed and was ready to set off over there, "No need to come here. Go back home directly and help me handle the company's affairs." But Qin Yuchen was puzzled. Didn't he say earlier he was sending him to M Continent to gain experience? Why did he suddenly change his mind about not wanting him to go? Any problem? No, it's just one thing. Grandma has arranged a marriage prospect for you. It's Miss Su, and wants me to go to M Continent to help you handle affairs so you can come back sooner to meet Miss Su. I'm not interested in Miss Su. Convey my words to the family. After saying that, Qin Hanyue hung up before Qin Yuken on the other end could react. Qin Hanyue came downstairs from the second floor and hadn't gotten close to the sofa yet when he heard a voice message playing aloud from the girl's phone. "Baby, things are popping up non-stop for me here, and now I'm in Morocco again, so I can't make it to M Continent for now." Then another message followed. "I heard you broke records at the fighting ring. Can't say you broke records since there were so few people for you to beat up. I bought some good wine to reward you. Baby, give me an address and I'll send it over to you." It was a young man's voice. Qin Hanyue's footsteps slowly came to a stop. Qiao Ying sent back a voice message. "A few bottles is probably not enough. I drank a few bottles of someone's wine the other day. Still owe them." "Oh? That expensive? Did you go bankrupt?" Yi Sai got excited and blurted out profanity. He then quickly said, "No, baby, you're joking with me, right? Since when did you become so easy to take care of? Got tired of eating exotic delicacies and switched to plain rice and vegetables? Aren't you afraid those $100,000 wines will hurt your throat? Back then, you'd disdain using $100,000 wines to soak your feet because you didn't like the smell." Qin Hanyue stood a few steps away, seeing the girl on the sofa chatting away, suddenly switching to texting, bowing her head and tapping on her phone keyboard. It looks like she noticed he was here. Qiao Ying texted, "I'm not poor anymore. Those villas I have in Country M help me sell some of the cars that are just sitting there. I urgently need money. Leave the Koenigsegg 1 for me." At that time, getting that car took some effort, and the performance was really good. The body was also beautiful. Letting her sell it, he was really reluctant. He would definitely drive it when he went back to Country M one day. Yi Sai saw the message and immediately asked, "WTF? What's your situation? Did you get mixed up in something and now need to sell off your assets?" Like, right, my bank assets are all frozen. Even if they weren't frozen, it would be inconvenient to move them. Once they're moved, it would definitely attract Shadow's attention. I have quite a few safes in those villas, but only my iris can open them. Not even explosives can blast them open. So just sell the cars. It's convenient. Anyway, she had so many cars that she couldn't drive them all. Selling a few didn't matter. Yi Sai took a deep breath and was emotional, but still said good-temperedly, "Do you think I'm dead? You need to sell your cars for just a bit of money. You need a few $100 billion. I'll transfer it to your account right now." If both of us were broke and had to sell off our assets, I'd sell mine first. It wouldn't be your turn, baby. You're really hurting my heart. Qiao Ying thought for a moment. That works too. Taking the time to sell cars would delay you from making money. It's just to pay Blackwater's wages anyway, so you can pay them first for me. Yi Sai, does Blackwater have that many people? You need to sell cars to pay their wages. Each of her cars started at 50 million at least. Taking out a few to sell, forget supporting Blackwater, she could support half of M Continent. Also build a 4,000 square feet small villa. Qiao Ying slowly typed, then suddenly spoke up. Mr. Qin, how much longer do you plan on listening? Having been caught red-handed, Qin Hanyue was not embarrassed at all. He went straight to the sofa and sat down, looking at the texting girl. If Ms. Qiao doesn't want me to listen, how could I have heard it? With Qiao Ying's vigilance, how could she not have noticed him? Of course Qiao Ying noticed. She noticed from the moment Qin Hanyue came downstairs. What she said about owing someone drinks was deliberately for Qin Hanyue to overhear. Sure enough, she then heard Qin Hanyue say, "It's just a few drinks, not worth mentioning. Ms. Qiao doesn't need to take it to heart, let alone pay me back. Besides, I don't like drinking anyway." Qiao Ying smiled lightly and looked up at the man, as expected of the Qin family's man in power in the capital, rich and arrogant. Hearing her words and seeing her smile, Qin Hanyue realized belatedly that she had deliberately said that for him to overhear. Was she trying to pay him back or not pay him back? He figured he understood now. This little girl liked to stir up trouble for fun. Compared to Miss Qiao's boyfriend, I don't dare to pretend to be a big spender, Qin Hanyue said. Yi Sai had been sending voice messages the whole time, so of course Qin Hanyue heard everything, including what the other party said about Qiao Ying wanting to sell cars to pay Blackwater's wages. It looks like Qiao Ying was hiding a lot of things. Boyfriend? Qiao Ying shook her phone in her hand. You mean this guy? Hearing her tone and how she addressed him, could it be that he was mistaken? Qin Hanyue's eyebrows raised slightly, calling him so affectionately. Could it be that I misunderstood? It's fine, Mr. Qin can be happy. Qiao Ying was too lazy to explain and didn't feel there was a need to explain either. Happy? Where did he look happy? Now that I think about it, asking Mayor Feng Teng of Yuncheng to specifically take care of Miss Qiao was really unnecessary at the beginning. With Miss Qiao's skills and such a formidable male friend, she really didn't need me to stick my nose in. Hearing Qin Hanyue's sudden words, Qiao Ying was a little surprised and said, "That was Mr. Qin. Qin Hanyue, Ms. Qiao saved my nephew's life, so this was only right. But now it seems that my good intentions may not have helped Ms. Qiao, but instead disturbed Ms. Qiao, which was a good deed that turned bad. Of course not. Mayor Feng helped me a lot." Although Qiao Ying said this, seeing the man's relaxed expression, she wondered in her heart. Why did Qin Hanyue suddenly tell her this? Did he just want a word of thanks from her? It couldn't be showing off, could it? Also, at Principal Zhang's house last time, he had pretended not to recognize her. So why did he take the initiative to expose their connection today and acknowledge on his own that she was Qin Yu Cheng's lifesaver? Something was off with him. Qiao Ying then added a sentence. If Mr. Qin didn't say anything today, I might have thanked the wrong person. After all, she had always thought it was Qin Yu Cheng's idea. Qin Hanyue smiled slightly. I'm glad I was able to help Miss Qiao. At this moment, her phone buzzed. Qiao Ying casually exited the chat with Ye Sai and saw a friend request in her contacts. She tapped it to take a look. The other party had also left a message. I'm Xu Mingchen. Qiao Ying directly ignored it, swiped her phone and went back. On the other side, Xu Mingchen held his phone, strangely nervous. However, after waiting for a long time, there was no response. No rejection, no reply, not even an acceptance of the friend request. Had she not seen it yet, or, a few days later, Qin Hanyue came downstairs and heard a commotion below. He saw Qin Yan at the front door carrying a heavy wooden box into the hall. Miss Qiao, it looks like your stuff. Under Qiao Ying's direction, Qin Yan used tools to pry open the box. Inside the box was bottles upon bottles of wine. Who sent Miss Qiao so much wine? Qin Yan curiously picked up a bottle. Damn, are those diamonds encrusted on the wine bottle? Qin Yan pried and examined closely. They're real diamonds, and red diamonds too. Why did M Continent become a gathering place for mercenaries? Because there were a lot of mines here. Gold mines, diamond mines, full of wealthy merchants. Most of what those mercenaries escorted during missions were freshly mined diamonds and gemstones. And 2/3 of the mines here in M Continent belonged to their god's army, to Qin Hanyue. So Qin Yan recognized at a glance that the diamonds on the wine bottles were real. Wine bottles encrusted with diamonds, that's just too damn arrogant. Oops, sorry Ms. Chow. Realizing he had sworn, which was too crude, Qin Yan quickly shut his mouth. Let me check what wine this is, Qin Yan said, and took out his phone to search. Ignorance is bliss. After searching, he got a huge shock. In excitement, the profanity came out again. Damn! The Islay Whiskey Limited Edition is 39.86 million per bottle. Qin Yan looked at his phone and read quickly. From the UK luxury beverage company, the bottle is made of UK crystal, then plated with 2 gold bars, encrusted with 8,500 diamonds and 300 rubies. The luxurious bottle contains old single malt Islay whiskey, considered the world's most expensive liquor. Qin Yan was so frightened that he carefully placed the wine back into the box. If it broke, he couldn't afford to pay it back, even if he sold himself 800 times. Unable to restrain himself, he picked up another frighteningly expensive bottle just to look at it. Billionaire Vodka, 24.58 million. Maestro Double Diamond Tequila, 23.25 million. Flipping through several bottles, seeing those sky-high prices popping up, Qin Yan couldn't help but swallow. He thought to himself, fortunately his boss didn't like drinking, otherwise he would have bankrupted who knows how many families. Qin Yan, Ms. Kiao, these wines are. Kiao Ying. A friend sent them. Qin Yan wanted to ask what kind of friend was so extravagantly ruthless. Qin Yan, your friend sent you so much expensive wine for drinking it. If the wine wasn't for drinking, was it for eating? Qiao Ying looked at him with a look like he was an idiot. Drink. Qin Yan's voice was even shaking. Is it drunk with the mouth? Neat. Was it meant literally? Qiao Ying looked at him strangely for a moment. How else could Assistant Qin drink it if not with his mouth? She looked at him again. Could a carbon-based life form ask this? Someone like this could work with Qin Hanyue. This person had saved Qin Hanyue's life before. No, I meant, in my understanding, something this expensive would either go into a collection or an auction house. Qin Yan. All right, he has no experience. One bottle was one thing, but damn, a whole case. This case had to be worth over $1 billion, right? Brought to drink? Were there such extravagantly rich big shots in a small place like Yuncheng? Not to mention, where could you even buy wines like these? Were there such powerful figures in Yuncheng? Just as Qin Yan was thinking this, he saw Qiao Ying had already picked up a bottle, opened it, and the moment the cap fell to the ground, Qin Yan's heart thumped violently along with it. This bottle was 3.12 million. Assistant Qin, have a drink? Qiao Ying poured herself a glass. Qin Yan shook his head. No thank you, Miss Qiao. Qin Yan wanted to say, his ordinary stomach couldn't contain such blessings. Just then, he saw Qin Hanyue come downstairs, and Qin Yan quickly stood up from the floor, resuming his usual efficiency. Young master. Qin Hanyue glanced at the box. Qin Yan hurried to explain. Miss Qiao's friend sent her a box of wine. Qin Hanyue looked at the shipping information slip pasted on the box. As expected, the sender's information was all asterisks, including the address. It had been specially delivered. Mr. Qin, please have a drink. Qiao Ying seemed to recall something and said, I forgot Mr. Qin doesn't drink. Qin Hanyue smiled slightly. I must drink Miss Qiao's wine. Qiao Ying nodded almost imperceptibly without speaking. Then Qin Hanyue saw her reach out to grab the wine bottle, pour a full glass, and hold it out to him. Before Qin Hanyue could react, the girl lightly clinked her glass against the one in his hand, making a crisp sound, and said, Cheers to you. Then she tipped back her head and downed it in one go. The whole set of actions was indescribably cool. Even the way she held the wine glass was extremely stylish. Watching Qiao Ying drink wine worth over 3 million like it was water, Qin Yan felt pained to death. This wasn't wine she was drinking, it was gold. Qiao Ying poured herself another glass. Expensive wine was just different. Living another life was worth it just to be able to drink decent wine like this. Mr. Qin, drink as you like. It's my treat. Qiao Ying said this, then took her glass upstairs. Qin Hanyue looked at the wine in his hand, then back at the girl's retreating figure upstairs. A moment later, he chuckled softly. He had thought when Qiao Ying spoke of inviting him for a drink, it would be around 7:30 p.m., the most suitable dinner time, at a carefully laid-out long table. Even if there were no candlelight or roses, there should at least be a nice atmosphere, paired with a steak or something. It turned out he had imagined too much. The more Qin Hanyue thought about it, the more he laughed. He shook his head and tipped back the wine in the glass. The mellow liquid slid over his taste buds. The man's sculpted Adam's apple bobbed as he drank. Qin Hanyue's deep gaze followed the figure in the upstairs corridor, tongue pressing against his cheek. "Young master, I just looked this wine up online. The one you drank cost over 3 million. Just this case, at least over 10 billion. Miss Qiao said it was a gift from a friend. Spending over 10 billion to buy wine as a gift. It must be a life and death level of friendship." Qin Yan would react indifferently to someone gifting a $10 billion mansion. After all, it was commensurate to the value. But this was wine. Hundreds of thousands per sip, no matter how rich. This was not how things were done. Qin Yan was implying for Qin Hanyue to investigate Qiao Ying's background and this friend. He had never been so curious about someone before. However, despite Qin Yan's many words, Qin Hanyue only heard 4 life and death friendship. Qin Hanyue was silent for a while, then suddenly instructed, "Go find me something." With the box of wine, Qiao Ying had been in a good mood these days. That day, she was hugging a laptop typing away upstairs, when someone suddenly knocked on the door. Without even lifting her head, Qiao Ying called out, "Come in, Mr. Qin." Qin Hanyue opened the door and entered. How did Miss Qiao know it was me? There would be no one else. Qiao Ying still didn't look up, only silently turned off the screen before Qin Hanyue walked over. Qin Hanyue unconsciously glanced at her laptop. It was Candy Crush again. "Does Mr. Qin have something for me?" Qiao Ying put the computer down. "There's something I wanted to give Miss Qiao. She may like it." Give her a gift? What was this about? Qiao Ying looked at him, then saw Qin Hanyue take something out of his pocket. Looking closely, Qiao Ying became interested. Picking up the acupuncture kit Qin Hanyue had placed on the table, Qiao Ying opened it to see rows of slender silver needles inside. Sure enough, acupuncture needles. Taking out a few, she examined them carefully. The silver needles glinted under the light, feeling icy cool to the touch like water. Qiao Ying directly tried inserting a few into her arm. Seeing Qiao Ying's actions, Qin Hanyue knew he had chosen right. Where did Mr. Qin find this? Qiao Ying couldn't help asking. This set of needles was even better than the custom set she had spent several $100,000 on from Mingshen Hall. A chance encounter. I thought Miss Qiao would like it, so I brought it back. Chance encounter. Qiao Ying thought, I didn't take you for someone who could spout nonsense like this. Let alone this thing only being available domestically. Even if war-torn M-State really had it, it would be shoddily made. How could it possibly be of such exquisite craftsmanship? Mr. Qin went through a lot of trouble to find this, didn't he? Indeed, Qin Hanyue had spent considerable manpower scouring all over to buy this from an elderly Chinese medicine practitioner in a neighboring state at a high price. The elder had refused to sell it at first, saying it was an ancestral heirloom that should be passed down. Although some effort was expended, at least he had found such an item and was able to give it away. Qin Hanyue, as long as Miss Qiao likes it. Qiao Ying looked at the tiny needle tips in her hand. I like it. It's just in time to use. That night, Qiao Ying sat soaking in a bathtub full of water, with over 20 silver needles inserted into her body. With the last needle going in, Qiao Ying slowly let out a breath. Waiting silently for half an hour, an oily, grimy substance could be seen slowly surfacing on the girl's fair skin. Reaching out to touch it, there was a sticky feeling, removing the needles and holding her breath as she submerged into the bathtub. The water went over her head, and an oily film floated to the surface. When the girl emerged again, her originally fair skin had become even more translucent and lustrous. After washing off and getting out of the tub, Qiao Ying felt much lighter overall. After that, every morning when Qin Hanyue woke up, he could see the girl's transformation. Already quite fair to begin with, after just a few days her whole being had changed dramatically. Her porcelain skin was flawless without blemish, seemingly able to be broken with a touch. Her temperament had also improved by several notches, extremely eye-catching. The change was so obvious that everyone noticed. Qin Hanyue couldn't help but think of that box of wine, which contained some red wine. Red wine was known to nourish the skin. Could it be due to that wine? Seeing Qin Hanyue looking at her, Qiao Ying said, "Thank you, Mr. Qin, for the needles. After a few nights of acupuncture, not only did it detox and nourish the skin, it also helped with slimming down. It wasn't the wine gifted by a male friend, but rather his gifted needles that were the reason." Qin Hanyue smiled slightly. "It's good that Miss Qiao likes it." The Hurricane mercenary group scattered after their boss lost his fighting hand and became a cripple, with only over a dozen loyal followers yet to leave. Upon hearing from his men that Blackwater was aggressively recruiting more members, and even some from Hurricane had joined them, Hurricane boss was furious. Blackwater was currently based at the headquarters of God's Army in M Continent, enjoying great success and prestige. Hurricane Group boss's eyes turned bloodshot from anger and hatred. He let out a low roar from his throat. "Boss, the doctor said you can't get agitated." "Boss, there's still hope for your hand. I heard there's a Dr. Seeley in Country M who can revive dead flesh and white bones with a surgeon's knife. I believe he can definitely cure your hand." Upon hearing this, Hurricane Group boss calmed down and stared at his men, breathing heavily as he asked, "You're telling the truth?" "It's true." Several men strode into the hospital room. "Who are you people?" Hurricane boss and his men were immediately on guard. Hurricane Group boss looked at the leader of the group. He had the face of a Southeast Asian, small and thin in stature compared to the mercenaries in M Continent, and not very tall either. What was most distinctive was the horrifying scar across his left eye that split his face in half. There were also large patches of new scars on his neck that looked burned or injured by explosions. "What your man said is true. Dr. Seeley can heal your hand. It's not difficult. What's difficult is finding him." After entering the room, Yi Saizi said to Hurricane Group boss, who was on the hospital bed, "You can find him?" Hurricane Group boss looked at the other party. "Yi Saizi, of course I can." Hurricane Group boss, "Who are you? What's your purpose?" "I'm here to partner with you." "Partner with me, a cripple with a severed hand nerve." Yi Saizi gestured at the people in the room with his cigarette-holding hand. "You still have over a dozen loyal followers. I need them. Why should I trust you?" "You have no other choice. Dr. Seeley is no ordinary doctor. He doesn't just see patients for money. I have some connection with him. Only I can find him and get him to treat you." Hurricane Group boss's instinct told him this person could not be trusted. He really could not be trusted. Yi Saizi had never met this seemingly legendary doctor. He didn't even know if the other party was male or female, let alone had any connection or ability to find and bring the doctor to see patients. That was just wishful thinking. Of course, he also didn't know that the famous Dr. Seeley, who was long dead and buried in the ocean, was in fact the Blood Shadow who blew up his base and crippled Hurricane Group boss into his current state, who was none other than Blackwater Group boss. Blackwater members were busy all day. As the youngest in the team, Sack naturally skived off work whenever he could. Everyone indulged him too, helping Bai Xiao select some new members who looked decent before he slipped away to wander around the headquarters of God's Army. As he wandered around, he somehow ended up at the villa where Qiao Ying was staying. Although Sack had accepted this new boss, His loyalty to Nameless ran too deep for him to face Qiao Ying for the time being. After much hesitation, Sack was about to leave. At this time, Qin Yan came out from the villa. Hearing Qin Yan say something came up at the mining site, bored Sack wanted to tag along. Qin Yan also had selfish motives. As soon as they got in the car, he started asking Sack about Qiao Ying. You and your boss got to know each other a long time ago. Sack. We met at a hotel a few days before the gladiator competition. Then why did she choose you guys? It doesn't seem like you just met, judging by her affection for Blackwater. Do you know her real identity? Qin Yan was dying of curiosity as Qin Hanyue refused to investigate. Qin Yan bombarded Sack with questions, but Sack wasn't stupid. He didn't tell Qin Yan that their previous boss, Nameless, knew Qiao Ying. Instead, he asked back, I wanted to ask you what's the relationship between your boss and my boss? Qin Yan. Just ordinary friends. Ordinary friends? Then why doesn't our boss live with us, but lives with you guys instead when we have room? And during those days at the gladiator competition, wasn't your boss with my boss? They're both Chinese too. Would your boss give us land for free, let us live here, and help us build our base, if he didn't have feelings for my boss? Looking at Sack rattling on, Qin Yan had an existential crisis. Are you really just acquaintances with your boss? Sack, what's up? Qin Yan, you're so similar. Your boss does this too, confronting me fair and square and turning my words around on me, every time. Sack scoffed. Qin Yan, I gotta say your Chinese is pretty good. Sack, of course. I learned it specially for my boss. Qin Yan, Ms. Qiao, Sack, Nameless. The two arrived at the mining site and took a look around. Nothing major had happened after all. On the drive back, however, an accident occurred. Qiao Ying was sitting on the windowsill of her room, looking at the scenery while sipping from a bottle of red wine, passing time. Suddenly she saw a group of people walking hurriedly in the distance. She took another sip from the wine bottle, then left it on the windowsill. Stepping out of the room and heading downstairs, she had just exited the front door and bumped into several more people rushing about. What's going on? Qiao Ying stopped someone and asked. The person looked at Qiao Ying, hesitating whether to say. Qiao Ying asked again, her tone carrying some authority. This person naturally also knew about Qiao Ying fighting 35 people alone at the gladiator competition. He was a little intimidated by her. Plus, Qiao Ying had an extraordinary relationship with their boss. So at Qiao Ying's questioning, he blurted out reflexively. Something happened to Assistant Qin on the drive back from the mining site. After saying that he hurriedly left, by the time she reached the monitoring room, Qiao Ying had followed him in. He didn't dare say anything, even less dare to chase her out, so he could only pretend not to see her. Upon entering, Qiao Ying saw that the monitoring room, filled with advanced high-tech equipment, had over a dozen technical staff sitting in front of computers or control panels. Casually glancing around, the screens were filled densely with data. What exactly happened to the person? Qiao Ying went up to the man from earlier and asked again. This man's position in God's army should be second only to Qin Yan. He had some authority in this monitoring room. From what we can see so far, he seems to have been kidnapped by unknown people. We're currently locating Assistant Qin's position. After a pause, the man still replied, We at God's army have tracking devices implanted under everyone's skin. Qiao Ying's first reaction was, talk about going all out. She then asked, what's the situation now? The other party is using a signal jammer, making location difficult. Our best computer technician here was originally Assistant Qin, but Assistant Qin is... Qin Yan. Qiao Ying recalled their exchange of moves that night. Could it be that Hacker Q on the hacker boards, before Qin Hanyue, was Qin Yan? Judging by his skills at the time, it should be Hacker Q on the leaderboard. Didn't see that coming. But shouldn't the best technician be Qin Hanyue? Where's your boss? Qiao Ying asked. Wouldn't it take Qin Hanyue just minutes to handle this, judging from everyone's heavy expressions? Our boss went to the neighboring continent. Only then did Qiao Ying recall Qin Hanyue had gone out. He had told her himself just this morning. She was upstairs at the time, while Qin Hanyue was downstairs. He had made a special trip upstairs to inform her before leaving. Back then she had smiled and nodded along the entire time, while feeling bewildered inside. Just then someone said, "Kidnapper's phone call." The man swiftly operated for a bit, then connected the call. The kidnapper's voice came through the computer speakers. "If you want this guy alive, send Qin Hanyue alone to Montana in S Continent to meet me tonight. I want to see him by tonight." The other party was very cautious, using a voice changer. But even with the voice changer, Qiao Ying could make out a tinge of Southeast Asian accent from the person's terrible English. It was Yi Saisi. The other party hung up after speaking. Fortunately, the technical staff managed to trace the call back to the kidnapper's phone. Although the other party was also using a signal jammer, they could detect a faint signal. After some work, they managed to lock onto the location of the other party's phone. The other party's signal is moving rapidly. Location locked in Kansas. They are likely headed to S Continent as expected, unable to confirm if Assistant Qin is in their vehicle. "Let me try." Qiao Ying spoke up at this point. Only now did everyone notice Qiao Ying's presence in the monitoring room. They glanced quickly before continuing with their tasks, paying her no further attention. Clearly no one took Qiao Ying's words seriously. The man in front of the control panel, who looked rather authoritative, immediately frowned deeply. "Who let her in? Don't they know this is a restricted area?" Qiao Ying also slightly frowned, looking at the man with displeasure. If it wasn't for Yi Saisi blowing up that village and implicating Qin Yan, Qin Hanyue wouldn't have left either. She wouldn't have bothered otherwise. Bai Xiao and Badaman rushed over in a panic at this time, and when they saw Qiao Ying, they said Sack is in trouble. Qiao Ying was just about to call Qin Hanyue when she heard Bai Xiao and the others say that Sack had met with an accident. Sack went to the mine with that guy surnamed Qin. Bai Xiao had just learned that Qin Yan had gotten into trouble, and that he had gone to the mine together with Sack. Now both of them were missing. As soon as Qiao Ying heard this, she shoved her cell phone back into her pocket, then grabbed a technician who was sitting nearby and lifted him up by the collar with one hand. The technician was a Russian man about 1.8 meters tall. He was lifted up and dragged to the side by a petite young woman. He stumbled and then steadied himself, looking up to see Qiao Ying sitting in his spot, her hands on his keyboard. He angrily shouted, "What are you doing? Stop immediately. This computer isn't for you to touch." The Russian spoke quickly and unintelligibly. Qiao Ying looked back and warned him in Russian, "Shut up." The man was stunned for a moment. He watched anxiously as his code was messed up on the screen. He rushed over to pull Qiao Ying away. Bai Xiao and the others decisively stopped him. "Don't move. Behave yourself." The two sides were now in a standoff. The person in charge of the control panel saw the situation and immediately slammed the table and stood up, furious. "Do you all want to die? How dare you cause trouble in God's army? Hurry up and get her out of here." He yelled at the person who had brought Qiao Ying in. That person was very embarrassed. The people in the monitoring room stayed inside with the door closed every day. Perhaps they didn't know much about Qiao Ying yet, but he knew. He looked at Qiao Ying sitting in the chair, hesitating to speak. Seeing that the person didn't do as he said and make Qiao Ying leave, the man in charge of the control panel grew even angrier. "Get out this instant. Didn't you hear me? If you delay Assistant Qin's rescue, your lives combined won't be enough to pay for it." Just then, a technician suddenly shouted, "Found it." Everyone looked over upon hearing this. The technician who had shouted was staring at another computer screen excitedly. And the person sitting at that computer was none other than Qiao Ying. The girl's hands were moving swiftly across the keyboard, too fast for the eye to follow. On the screen was a model of a car. Inside the trunk of the car model was a blinking red dot that was moving quickly. This red dot was the locator implanted in Qin Yan, which they had not been able to track no matter what they tried. Something that more than 10 professional technicians could not accomplish. She had managed to locate in less than 2 minutes. How did she do it when there was no signal at all? The man who had been about to throw Qiao Ying out just a moment ago hurriedly took 2 steps forward to take a closer look. His mouth also closed shut. Qin Yan is in their trunk. Have people been dispatched? Qiao Ying asked while tapping on the keyboard. The person who had brought Qiao Ying in hurriedly replied. People were already sent to pursue them as soon as the car was located. Qiao Ying's hands moved swiftly. Send more people. I want to ensure my people return safely. Yes. The man took out his phone and immediately followed her orders. Although they had already located the target and only needed to track them, Qiao Ying was still operating the computer. What was she doing? For a time, everyone's eyes were fixed on Qiao Ying and the ever-changing screen in front of her. No one noticed that another person had entered the monitoring room. The man had a tall and straight posture. He silently walked to the back of the crowd and stood there, his dark eyes fixed on the girl. Qiao Ying had hacked into Yi Cix's phone through tracing their location of his phone earlier. With a few swift operations, she implanted a virus and successfully wiretapped his phone. Other than Bai Xiao's group, almost everyone present was a professional. For these experts, wiretapping someone's phone was not difficult. The hard part was doing it when the target used a signal jammer. What astonished and amazed them was Qiao Ying's operating technique and speed. They had never seen such brilliant hacking skills. There were even some steps that they couldn't understand at all. This girl's skills were probably on par with Assistant Qin's. Qin Hanyue observed the girl's entire process from the back of the crowd, so it really was her. Back at Principal Zhang's house, from the handwriting on the prescription Qiao Ying had left for Principal Zhang, he had guessed that Qiao Ying was the mysterious poster on the online forum who had solved that math problem but refused to reveal her identity. From there, he further deduced that Qiao Ying was the mysterious hacker he had crossed paths with online that night, but he had never been able to confirm it. Now that he had seen it with his own eyes, Qin Hanyue finally confirmed that the math prodigy Principal Zhang was looking for was her, and the person he had matched skills with online that night was also her. No one would have imagined that the genius hacker X, who was out of reach for countless hackers, turned out to be an 18-year-old girl. When she had refused his offer of a job at his company, he had thought the young lady was too arrogant. Now he understood that she did indeed have the skills to look down on his company. Soon, Hurricane Group boss, who had sent people to take Qin Yan and Sack to State S, called Yi Cixi. Qiao Ying successfully wiretapped their call over here. She heard Hurricane Group boss anxiously yelling at Yi Cixi, "You bastard! God's army is chasing us. How did they find out about our whereabouts? Hurry up and tell me, where is Dr. Seeley?" Hurricane was actually involved too, looking for her to treat his hand. Qiao Ying's lips curled up in a mocking sneer. "God's army discovered you guys? How is that possible?" Yi Cixi couldn't believe God's army had reacted so quickly. Just then, the subordinate driving suddenly looked nervous and shouted, "It's God's army." Hearing the commotion, Yi Cixi immediately stuck his head out the window to look up. He saw rows of helicopters overhead. "Don't ask any more. Just tell me where Dr. Seeley is." Hurricane Group boss was being led on an escape by his men, with God's Army's troops right behind their car. Hurricane Group boss did not get the information he wanted. All they heard was Yi Cixi cursing as he hung up the call. Right after Yi Cixi hung up Hurricane Group boss's call, an unknown and strange number suddenly called him. Without thinking, Yi Cixi directly declined the call, but he found he could not hang up. Then his phone started malfunctioning strangely, displaying nonsense codes before automatically answering and switching onto speakerphone. Before Yi Cixi could figure out what was going on, a girl's voice came through the phone. She arrogantly said right off the bat, "Stupid motherfucker, you retaliated against the wrong person. I was the one who blew up your pathetic village." Qiao Ying spoke calmly with a headset in hand. She was speaking Kalugan, a language only one person present could understand, Qin Hanyue. When he heard it, he couldn't help curving his lips into a faint smile. Yi Cixi was stunned for a moment before realizing the situation. He immediately turned to look back at the car behind them. The trunk of the rear car contained Sack, Qiao Ying's subordinate. Before Yi Cixi could take revenge on Sack, a shell suddenly fell from the sky and violently cut off the rear car. Only their car continued to flee. The girl's voice came through again, very low, like a demon whispering in one's ear. Back in Southeast Asia, I should have had Yi Sai gouge out both your eyeballs. Yi Seizi's eyes widened in shock. A chill instantly crept from his feet up his back, spreading through his limbs and permeating his entire body, making him shudder in terror. After speaking, Qiao Ying put down the headset and promptly stood up. The group of people behind her also collectively took 2 steps back, all looking at her with complex expressions. But it was not difficult to see the fiery admiration in their eyes towards Qiao Ying. Even Bai Xiao and the others who didn't understand computers looked at her with worship. Qiao Ying glanced at the person in charge of the control panel. He had turned red from suppressed anger and awkwardly lowered his head without saying a word. Qiao Ying retracted her gaze and inadvertently met eyes with Qin Hanyue behind her. When she had spoken that last sentence, she had unconsciously lowered her voice. He probably didn't hear it, right? But on second thought, so what if he did hear it? Even if she directly told him she was Xue Ying, would he believe it? Who would believe such a bizarre, supernatural thing as reincarnation of the soul? At this time, the man who had brought Qiao Ying in said while holding up his phone, "The people have been rescued." Qiao Ying shifted her gaze away from Qin Hanyue's face and said in a low voice, "Bring Yi Cixi back, whoever dared to move against her people." Soon, Yi Cixi and the Hurricane Group boss, who had crippled hands, and a bunch of his followers were all brought to God's army without a single one missing. Half of Yi Cixi's head was covered in blood, probably from an artillery shell explosion, which made the new scar on his neck look even more creepy. From this, it seemed like there probably wasn't much good skin left on his whole body. Yi Cixi and the Hurricane Group boss were tossed in front of Qin Hanyue, Qiao Ying and the others tied up. Yi Cixi, who was always strong and claimed himself king all his life, struggled hard and barely stood up from the ground. The next moment, someone kicked the back of his knees and he heavily kneeled back down. He gave a muffled groan from the pain, breathing rapidly. A pair of shoes appeared in his field of vision and he looked up to see a pretty face. In just one short month, the chubby girl had now completely slimmed down into a totally different figure. However, the lecherous Yi Cixi didn't have the slightest evil thoughts at this moment. He even directly ignored Qin Hanyue next to him and asked the unfamiliar yet still slim face of Qiao Ying the question from his heart. Who are you? The tension and unknown fear made him nervously swallow his saliva as the fairly clean half of his face visibly turned pale. Qiao Ying squatted down to appreciate the fear in Yi Cixi's eyes. The corner of her mouth raised slightly and she said lightly, "The one who blew up your place." They were both speaking Galese. Bai Xiao and the others didn't understand a word, but could feel Yi Cixi's fear of Qiao Ying from the depths of his soul. They were puzzled. This guy dared to capture even God's army yet, was so terrified of Qiao Ying. Yi Cixi looked into Qiao Ying's eyes. Her gaze was very familiar, but that was impossible. From their looks to height, they were completely different people. You and that Chinese girl, what is your relationship with Ye Si? Yi Cixi had yet to finish asking when he suddenly saw Qiao Ying raise her hand. Right after, he felt a slight prick on his throat, as if poked by a needle tip. When Yi Cixi tried to speak again, he discovered that he couldn't make a sound. Cold sweat instantly broke out as he looked at the girl with the innocent pretty face in horror. Yi Cixi kept opening and closing his mouth, trying to make a sound, but it was all futile. No matter how hard he tried, he could only let out a pitiful "ah, ah." This scene made everyone in the hall look at each other in dismay. Qiao Ying's movements were too fast. They only saw her touch Yi Cixi's neck, and it seemed she didn't even touch him. Anyway, they didn't see what she did, but Yi Cixi was instantly muted. There was no visible wound on his neck. Even if it was poison, the effects shouldn't happen this quickly. It was just too bizarre. After witnessing Qiao Ying's eerie abilities, the Hurricane Group boss lying on the ground nearly wet himself in fear. When Qiao Ying's gaze turned to him, the Hurricane Group boss's mind went blank. What? What are you going to do? He began twisting his bound body, scraping backwards. Boss, the hospital called. Sack's legs were broken by them and just got reconnected. Bai Xiao said, holding up his phone. A cold look flashed across Qiao Ying's face, and her eyes suddenly chilled a few degrees. The Hurricane Group boss's heart sank, realizing it was over for him. So regardless of his injured hands, he desperately scraped his body on the ground to retreat back. The bandaged wrists kept oozing blood, leaving streaks on the floor. It wasn't me. Yi Saisi did it. He took advantage of me. It's got nothing to do with me. Use this. Don't get the needle you want to use dirty. A gun was handed over. Qiao Ying looked up along the arm, holding the gun to see Qin Hanyue's face. She stood up, gaze sinking as she looked at the Hurricane Group boss. The latter was already so scared he couldn't speak and didn't even know how to beg for mercy. He just looked at Qiao Ying in horror. "Untie him," Qiao Ying said. Hearing this, Bateman wanted to say something but was stopped by Bai Xiao. Bai Xiao then walked over and roughly grabbed the Hurricane Group boss on the floor, untying the ropes. Having been pulled back from the brink of death, the Hurricane Group boss's mind was still blank as he dumbly looked at Qiao Ying, not daring to move at all. It wasn't until he saw Qiao Ying's head move slightly, gesturing towards the door, that after being stunned for a few seconds, the Hurricane Group boss didn't think and just dragged his two frightened soft legs to stumble and scramble towards the exit. It was as if there was some ferocious beast behind him. He was terrified that if he slowed down even 1 second, he would be swallowed up. Seeing that Qiao Ying had actually let the person go, everyone looked at her in confusion. Just as the Hurricane Group boss was about to reach the door, Bateman was ready to take out his weapon for revenge on Sack. But Qiao Ying beat him to it. Taking the gun from Qin Hanyue's hand, Qiao Ying raised it and shot the Hurricane Group boss in the calf. With the gunshot, the man heavily collapsed to the ground. His strong will to live made him crawl up again, dragging one bloody leg while limping towards the door. Bang! Another gunshot. The man fell back to the floor again. He looked back in terror to see Qiao Ying walking towards him step by step. With his limbs crippled, he desperately twisted his body to crawl outside little by little. A sense of fear he had never felt before came crashing down. Bateman retracted his hand that was about to take out a weapon. Laughing, he felt avenged. The door was within reach but was suddenly blocked. A pair of feet appeared before him, and he slowly looked up to see the girl's cold face. The girl squatted down and softly said, "You want to find Dr. Seeley to treat your hands?" He looked at her. Then he saw the girl lower her head, moving closer to him, and her red lips slowly parted to utter a few words, "I am her." The Hurricane Group boss's pupils fiercely contracted as he looked at the girl before him in disbelief. In an instant, only despair remained in his eyes. He no longer struggled, and didn't have the strength to struggle either. His head limply dropped to the floor. Qiao Ying used the silver needle to damage the man's vocal cords, then told Bai Xiao, "Get some doctors over here. Don't let them die. Keep them alive and wait for Sack to deal with them." She then looked towards Yi Saisi and continued, "Keep him alive. You guys can do what you want with the rest. Your marksmanship is very accurate." Qin Hanyue took the gun Qiao Ying threw over. "The gun is good," Qiao Ying said. "Like it? I'll give it to you." Qin Hanyue once again held out the personal carry gun he'd had for many years, gentlemanly pointing the muzzle at himself, just like before. Qiao Ying lowered her eyes to look at it but didn't take it. Instead, she said, "Mr. Qin has returned, so why didn't you help out? Just standing by and watching." Qin Hanyue was quite innocent. "I didn't have anywhere to display my abilities. Is Miss Qiao interrogating me?" "Can't say it's interrogating. After all, it wasn't a very difficult matter. I knew Miss Qiao wouldn't ignore this and would definitely be able to rescue them. That's because my people were also in their hands." Qin Hanyue just smiled without saying more. Qiao Ying thought for a moment before suddenly saying, "Qin Yan is Mr. Qin's confidant, so his life must be quite valuable, right?" Qin Hanyue's brows raised slightly as he waited for her to continue. "Just now, those guys in the monitoring room said our few lives added together still aren't enough to compensate for one of his." "Who said that?" Qin Hanyue asked. Qiao Ying didn't answer but went on, "A little kindness forms a lifelong bond, let alone a whole life. It's not going overboard for me to ask Mr. Qin for some things, right?" Qin Hanyue pondered whether he should remind her that it was because she blew up Yi Saisi's place that Qin Yan suffered this disaster for no reason. Of course, she would most likely retort that even if she didn't blow it up, Yi Saisi had ill intentions and conflict with God's army was inevitable sooner or later. Qin Hanyue looked at her with laughing eyes. "What does Miss Qiao want? As long as I have it, just go ahead and ask."